man. This is one of those special live editions where we just want to get together and talk a little bit. We're going to be talking today about Black power, African spirituality in the Bible. Let's talk about it. You know, throughout the community, there seems to be a lot of the fight that's going on, right? We see Bible believers feeling like African spirituality goes against the grain. Some even people say that the Bible is not African. We have those that believe in African spirituality, that believes that the Bible is purely a work of fiction or a work of the white man, or however people want to say it. There are those that believe in African spirituality, neither reject or accept the Bible. We're going to discuss that. And then we have our brothers, our Black power brothers, that's power to the people. We're going to dig into that. We're going to dig and see what that sounds like. We're going to see if these can coexist. We're going to see if they can't. We're going to talk about a lot of this. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry. We're going to yell. We're going to figure out how it all works out. So before we get started, I'm going to go across the panel. Obviously, ladies first. That's right. We're not discriminating around here.
Yes, y'all are.
So let me introduce my sister, Miss Reese Roberts. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sis.
Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Reese Roberts. I'm the host of Entertain the Thought, which is published now on SoundCloud. And I also do live broadcasts on Facebook and Instagram. So if you'd like to kind of explore through my content online, you can visit me at www.reeseroberts.com. Thank you.
All right, sis. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. She came in all nice. Don't trip, yo. She gonna beat y'all up. Y'all coming here talking crazy.
Somebody better tell him.
All right, next we're gonna go to my brother coming fresh off of last night's trial. One of my brothers that was in there with the Messianics on trial. And then after that, went and did a debate over on Solar Vision Debate League. Shout out to Solar Vision Debate League, to my brother Solar Mind, my brother Orthodox Moore, all my family over there, brother Lex. Yes, my brother Lex. You still my brother, man. You know what I'm saying? This man, my brother, Yara Ben Nazareth. Go ahead and introduce yourself, fam.
Shalom, 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 Shabbat shalom, family. Peace to the panel. Peace to you, Sister Roberts. Peace to Suave Beezy in the building. Peace to my brother Anonymous Hebrew. Man, nothing but love for you all. Man, shout out to Child Sometime, man. Appreciate you, man, for your platform, brother. Man, anybody want to get at me, I'm very accessible. I chop it up with anybody, man, on anything, man. We can get at it. So you can reach me on Facebook at Yara, YARAH, BEN, Nazar, NAZR. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me at Elder Yara on my YouTube channel. Man, I'm downloading more content on there as we speak. Solar Vision Debate League. You can go to some of my debates. Man, shout out to the Argument League with our boss. Man, chops it up. So been in the mix with it for a minute. Also on Facebook, you can check me out on Racism is Not the N-Word. So man, check me out on that as well. You can get some, some commentary. I just make a little short commentaries, a little bloviating. I don't mind saying it. I put it out there. Put a little op-eds out there every so now and again. Some articles, man, and we see how everything rocks and rolls, man. So, man, I think conversation is the key, man. You know, conversation is the key. So, man, let's chop it up, man. I'm excited about this topic, man.
All right. That man, Yara, like I said, dude, dope boy header yesterday was up all night putting in work.
Man, all night, man.
Finally, last but not least, my brother, the founder of the Argument League, former debater over at Solar Vision Debate League. This is how me and this brother became real cool. My guy, Suave Boss. Tell him about yourself.
Easy.
Absolutely. Appreciate the presence of everybody, man. And it's okay if I'm the least, because I'm on the panel with great people. So the least out of us still ain't bad. So it is what it is. Yes, absolutely. Squad, the Argument League, host of the Argument League, formerly in partnership with Solar Vision Debate League. Now venturing off, sponsored by the Knowledge Radio. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. Look up my sponsor, because that's how bills get paid. blogtalkradio.com.
Shout out to
the Knowledge Radio. Shout out to Knowledge Man. Shout out to Anonymous, Sal, Yara, and the Queen Sis Reese. I appreciate all y'all. Love everybody who's tuning in. Appreciate y'all caring enough to even be here. It is what it is, man. Swab Boss. The Argument League, subscribe. Thank you.
Man, and shout out to my man through the Knowledge. I gotta call him. Don't beat me up, Knowledge. Your brother been busy, man. Y'all been busy. So let me get my greetings and my intros out the way. First off, Shabbat Shalom to the family. All those that know what that's about. You know what I'm saying? Shalom Mishpachah. I am the Anonymous Hebrew. I'm the host of The Verdict. I am also the co-host of the Man Up segment that is hosted by my brother B.A. Ben Abraham. Hopefully he'll be able to pull up and come through and spend some time with us today as well. That's pretty much all I got. I love everybody. It's great to have my brothers and my sister on the panel. If you pull up and you like the conversation, you know, and if we have some type of history, or even if you just got something you want to add, if we got enough room on the panel, I'll shoot you the link. You can come through. Remember, keep it clean, keep it professional, no cussing, but we are going to turn it up. So, with all that being said, let's get into it. First things first, I want to dig into the Black Power thing, right? I'm going to let my boy Swab get into this. And so there's this concept of this old school Black Power mentality, right? You know what? Before we go any further, I don't want to bring the mood down, but I do got to say this because it just came to my attention. I just found out earlier. I want to send all strength and prayers out to my brother, Bishop Eliyahu. He suffered a loss in his family. He lost his mother, and we will be praying for him. We will keep him up in prayer. Once I get the pertinent details, we'll be putting that out. But we definitely are praying for that brother. So we send our strength, we send all our prayers, we send all our love.
Strength and patience to you, Eliyahu, man, and your family, fam.
All right. So I meant to take care of that. So, you know, I always want to acknowledge our family when we're praying for them. So now back to the Black Power concept. So one of the main reasons, you know, I've had good conversations with all these people on the panel. And one of the main things that I see is there's some things that we can agree with. There's some things that we disagree with. And it seems like that line always gets drawn with the Bible, right? There's some form of fashion where we see the line drawn with the Bible. So the first thing I want to do is I want Swab to kind of come in and talk about his concept of what Black Power is today. And then kind of say, you know, obviously where he sees the disconnect pertaining to the Bible. So first off, Brother Swab, and obviously my brother and my sister on the panel, y'all feel free to jump in.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, Black Power is something that people romanticize, like a lot of things. And us as blacks can't afford to do that. We have to look at it as what it is. So things have to be updated. Every day you wake up, you update. You put away the programs that no longer, you know, are beneficial, and you update and use the ones that are, and you install the new ones that. And so Black Power is no longer, because when we used to say Black Power, we would say white power to the whites, yellow power to the yellow, red power to the red. Well, everybody's been checked off that list. Everybody's got their power except for the blacks. And so we continue to scream Black Power. Today is not like a marching type of Black Power, a stand in front of your building type of Black Power. Like, we need to literally make a move type of Black Power. We're not in agreements with none of this that's going on here. We're not trying to find our place in it. We're not trying to, you know, well, the Democrats need a Black Power agenda. No, they don't. We need to recognize and define ourselves for ourselves in today's times, at today's rate, and do what we have to do. So I really don't want people to look at it like kill whitey or anything like that. I'm not driven on hate. I love my people. I'm not thinking of no one else. And that's how people like to paint it when they explain Black Power. Oh, you just want to, well, why ain't you out there? Listen, I love my people. Black Power is truly righteousness and it's truth. And a lot of the time, that's the disconnect with the Bible. Because when we're trying to establish ourselves in a literary form, you know, like starting actual communities that focus on us, the Bible is always the gateway that is used for types of integrating, a certain type of tolerance for things that we cannot afford to tolerate. And it's simply because we have the Bible, and anybody who studies the Bible, they take the Bible, set it down, open it up, and they read it. They stop from their heart. Or they open up another source. So if we're opening up the Bible, which leads us to another source, then we choose the other sources. We like to know the real names and the real times and the real historical events. Like it's not worth, you know, looking through the book and trying to pick apart and redefine. Like we're doing the research, but we're not actually updating the information. So that's like my discontent with it. So that's my brief thing on what Black Power is. I'm sure a lot more will be questioned and come out. So I do cede my time to the sister if she wants to go in on how she feels about Black Power.
Of course, I do. I do think that Black Power has to be put into a proper context when it comes to modern times, because human evolution definitely tells a story, but it also has certain requirements of humanity. And what we're looking at right now is trying to define power for ourselves as individuals and also as a community. And so for me, Black Power means understanding your enemy, understanding how you're being attacked, and understanding how you can defend yourself against those attacks. And so for me, it's very evident and apparent that I'm under spiritual, mental, and physical attack. And so when I assess the damages that are occurring in those different respects, then I find my power in counteracting each one of those attacks. So if I know that I'm under mental attack, then I'm going to do everything I can to learn and educate myself, because the goal of the attack is for me to be ignorant and for me to be uneducated about what is happening and unaware of what my enemy is doing behind the scenes. So the way to have power is to make sure that you understand also how to use the power. And so when I empower myself by learning, I'm not just learning so that I can have information sitting in my head. I'm learning so that I can act and move on that information. And that is essentially what defines my power, is how well I'm able to develop my tactics, my strategies to retaliate or to defend, and then allow that to show its force against my enemy and allow my response, the way I'm responding to how I'm being attacked. That to me is Black Power. And it to me is very inspiring to see how we're all responding to our attacks, because we're responding in the same ways. I think out of sheer resentment for the Caucasian race, a lot of us are doing what we can to educate ourselves, even to the point where we are obsessing about education. We're obsessing about facts, knowledge, and statistics. We're kind of obsessing about these things because we know that our oppressor doesn't want us to know. And out of just sheer resentment, like, F you, I'm getting ready to learn because you don't want me to know. And it's plain, it's a form of self-empowerment. I think, again, that is where Black Power comes from. When we're looking at how we're being attacked and we're like, nah, I ain't with this. I'm getting ready to do everything I can physically, possibly, spiritually, mentally do so that I can retaliate.
Facts.
All right, Sister Reese. All right.
Fire.
Be quiet. Nah, thank you for that, Sister Reese. My brother Yara, are you in the building?
So yeah, I'm here. Shalom, shalom, family. Yeah, so this is a very interesting topic, man. It's one that I feel needs to be discussed more, within our Hebrew or Israelite community, among our black people, our black family as a whole. So, like, I draw from certain certain aspects of experience, life experience, and different theological understanding. So, like, for me, like, James Cone, right? James Cone, is what you call maybe a black liberation theologist. Um, Wrote several things, and one of the questions that he always had was how um, does black power? How can you define black power um, and reconcile that with the Bible, especially when we're especially in light of our existential situations of an oppressed community, right? And that relates to the forces of liberation, and how do we see that to the essence of the gospel, along with belief in Christ or whatever, and different things like that. And so basically, his question was, what does the Bible or what does believing in God, have to say to a powerless black men and women in this country, right? Whose existence is threatened daily, by insidious acts and tentacles of white power, you know. So how do we sort of use that? And so even last night in my debate, I brought up the example of Nat Turner, right? And so we kind of understand whether some of us believe the accounts that we have of Nat Turner are wholeheartedly true in some aspects, or some are made up fictions or myths. But we see how we have this notion, right, of an oppressed person, oppressed man, a black man, right? Still, as we kind of see today, how he goes into the scriptures and then he finds purpose. But he finds purpose, right, not in the things that just heightens him spiritually, but things that will free him naturally, right? Because more so than his spiritual understanding of the scriptures and what it was saying to him, he also understood that with that comes a level of liberation, right? Or what we consider our right to be free people, right? And so we see this throughout the scripture, right? We see this with the understanding of Moses and the Exodus, leading a people, whether you believe in its accuracy or its truth or not. We see this sort of black liberation movement, right? These people coming under from an oppressed people that were not indigenous to their land, moving into their own land, right? Looking to build and live their own lives separate from those of their oppressors. We see these sort of motifs throughout the scriptures, right? But I think that sometimes when we go through the different things that we deal with, like police brutality, um, education, when we deal with things like high crime in our community, when we deal with things like what do you call it, joblessness in our communities, different things that affects us daily, the destruction of the black family, different things like that we have to deal with on a daily basis. Those things a lot of times sort of overtake our understanding and our need for a spiritual reckoning or a spiritual revival, right? But we see that our people going through the effects of the slave trade, going through the effects of the oppression from the white man, quote unquote, different things like that, these oppressive systems that we find ourselves under, our people only survive, right, through a strong spiritual connection. If it wasn't back just to the motherland or to the scriptures or to whatever belief system they held to, or just the spiritual sense of community, right, or family, we still held a getting back to that slowly, but we've had so many years of oppression that we don't really see the effects or the importance of having a spiritual sense or understanding or connection to the universe, or to even a God, whether you find it in the Bible or whether you find it, wherever you seek, your religious beliefs from. I think we should push that all to the side together, and we're looking at instances where we feel like we're constantly underfoot, we're constantly under attack, right? And so, in order to cover up under these things, we still need a level of spirituality, because spirituality still connects us, right? Even if we don't have the same experiences, even though we're being oppressed by the same forces, we still all can't relate to the same experiences under the same oppression, right? And so we have to have something that connects us, right? And spirituality is one thing that's always done that for us, right? And so I think that we have to have not just a focus on our natural man, but also on our spiritual man, right? And so I think that once we start to focus on both these aspects, because once you do that, then you have a balance, right? And we need balance in order to make harmony. You need harmony in order to make peace. So with that, I'm gonna fall back.
All right. So we done got into the meat a little bit, and if you're paying attention, you can see the different viewpoints already, right? So, as we deal with this thing, right? Y'all hold on one second.
Wait. Yeah.
All right, had to talk to wifey real quick. As you see this thing, right? So my question or my concern is then the concept of the hate or the disdain or the thought that we need to put down the Bible, because I agree wholeheartedly with the point that the brother Yar was making about we see this concept of liberation, right? Whether it be, because Swab's talking about power to the people, power to the blacks, power to the reds, right? Power to whomever, right? We see this concept of liberation throughout the Bible, right? So if we see the concept of liberation throughout the Bible, right? Why is there this pushback for using the Bible as the tool for liberation? Whoever won.
I'll take it. There is, I believe, quite a bit of pushback for using the Bible as a tool of liberation, because we don't necessarily know who did what to the Bible. For me personally, there's an overarching truth about books and about the authors of those books. And we have to just humble ourselves and recognize that no matter how much history is told, how much research is done, is that none of us were there when that book was written. And even so, if we were, you have to know that the Bible was written as an explanation of a person's, an individual's interpretation of spirituality. It's just if I were to write a how-to on how to do a fresh twist out on my hair, or if I were to write a book about how to, build an efficient car, I would be writing those books based on my personal interpretation of what the best way to accomplish this might be. And I think that what most people who push back are beginning to realize is that whoever wrote these books, their opinion about the matter is no more important than mine. And if I know myself and I love myself as the book has instructed me to do, then I shouldn't need any further guidance, any further instruction, or any further commandment or covenant in order for me to operate in my best interest as a creator should. And I also believe there's a lot of pushback because of the lack of context that's being used in the application of the scriptures and the meanings of those scriptures. I always like to use this as an example to sort of demonstrate to people what I see happening with the Bible and its meaning and its allegory. I could easily say that half of 8 is 3. And I'm going to demonstrate this visually because it doesn't make any sense to say it out loud. So everybody knows that half of 8 is 4 logically and in all truth. It's an empirical truth that half of 8 is 4. But if I show you this number 8 and then I cut it in half visually, just visually, it looks like a 3. And so this is what I see people doing all the time with the Bible, is that they look for the lesser truth. Because if I tell you that half of 8 is 3 and then I show you this little visual illusion, then I'm right. That is a 3 on the paper if I cut half of that off of there. But that's not the original meaning of what half is. When you have something, you take away half of its value. And so this is something that we have to start realizing in the applications of the Bible, is that a person can perceive a lesser truth and still be as firm on that lesser truth because it's still truth. It's not empirical. It's not universally applicable. It doesn't have any use, because even though it's true that this visually looks like a 3 when I cut it in half visually, I can't do anything with that besides a cute little nifty trick. But in truth, if I give you half of 8 and I give you 4, you can do all kinds of mathematically accurate things with that. And so this is what I would love for our people to understand about the book, is that it is a manual. And yes, it does have value if you know how to apply it. But to simplify it only to your understanding and to only accept the understanding that you've been given, instead of you developing and learning outside of the Bible. This is another reason I think we're pushing back on this. This is why I'm personally pushing back, is that a lot of people like to reserve their educational development on just the book of the Bible. And to me, that is futile. To me, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of effort. It's a waste of a lot of things that could be applied to more productivity and what your natural gifts and talents are. Because once you know something, if you've read the Bible in its totality one time, why do you need to continuously go back over it and read it again in its entirety over and over and over again, constantly referring back to the same lessons? I understand that when you read them again, they have different meanings, different contexts. You can extrapolate differently depending on how you're reading the Bible. And trust me, I studied the Bible for years, but what it didn't do was answer very, very, very important questions. Like, why is it that the Bible will tell us that we are creators, that are one with the source, and that we are God? But yet we still rely on some personified outside force to do the creating for us. If we want to be wealthy, we ask for wealth instead of creating it ourselves. If we want peace, we ask for peace instead of creating it ourselves. If we want happiness, we ask for happiness instead of creating it ourselves. The Bible tells us that we are creators and that we create one with the source. So there's no need to ask outside of yourself. What you do is you ask inward to yourself. If I want peace, you ask yourself, hey, self, how do we create peace? Because this is what we want in our reality. And this is the universal law that we operate on. You create whatever it is you want. Do what thou wilt. That's what that comes from. So I'll close with that.
That's what's up. Can I hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I think one of the things is that we have to be accepted. We, meaning Black power people, the people that don't believe in the Bible. The people who believe in the Bible have to accept the way that we use the Bible. It's like, because when you're a child, they tell you it's the true word of God, it's God's word, and it's true and accurate and right. Then as you grow older and you study it, you find out it's not. And instead of telling the children, we continue to let them come into this. It's looked at as a offensive to say these things. But once you really actually study the Bible, once you read the Bible, and you read the Bible 6, 7 times, you start studying the names and the places and the dates, and you start seeing the inaccuracies, then you have to understand that it's not correct and true and exact. Now, that's okay because we're able to do the research now that can line these things up and make them make sense. But the inability of people to update their data, where it's like, oh no, well, the earth only been around for 6,500 years, and then you find information that contraries that, then it's like, oh yeah, but and it's like an abusive relationship where they're willing to just make an excuse for it, and then just to continue with it. We can instantly write another Bible, like right now. Like we have enough knowledge of the Bible to rewrite the Bible and make it make the sense that it's supposed to make. Everybody who believes in the Bible, that studies the Bible to a certain degree, must admit that, and will admit that it's been tampered with. They won't go into detail to tell you, the councils that did it and the reasons why and what was added and what was taken away. But they can admit that that's happening. So I say, well, okay, well, what's wrong with having that discussion and bringing forth that truth? Well, I mean, they know it's a rabbit hole that's going to lead to the destruction of, 92% of what it is. Because there's some truth in it. There's some math in it. There's some astrology in it. There's some very good principles in it. There's principles in a lot of books. There's astrology in a lot of books. But what you don't get in these other sources is the white supremacist mind state that the certain people were set above the whole earth. And they are the special people connected to God, what they call God. When I know that the creator is the true creator, in that it created everything. You can't call it a man, a woman. It's very offensive to try to give it a name or a term or a title like it's your child. It created you. So my thing is just this inability to rationalize when it comes to talking about real things, when it comes to the Bible. A lot of people like to play like they don't know things. They want to just see if you know. Well, show me where you. And then when you show it, they be like, oh yeah, I mean, that's. So let's stop testing each other on it. We know it. We don't need to study another papyrus. We don't need another 2,000 years worth of, let's correct this. We have enough. We're homeless. We're hungry. We're in abusive relationships. And we're embracing it. It's our music. It's our television. They try to coin that to us like we're the progenitors of abusive relationships and drug abuse and alcohol abuse, when we're only following the footsteps of the path that we're on. This been here, this alcohol abuse. You can't drink more alcohol than white America. There's no way you can consume more drugs than 285 million people when you're only 44 million people. But yet here we are. So just when things get real like that, I don't think that, biblical things hold up. And I think we need to give it a break. I think we need to catch up with life, and then we'll be able to afford to study these things again.
That's a really important. I'm sorry. Let me give an opportunity for everybody else to speak. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to let Yara get in, but there's a lot that I need to touch on. Okay. Mm-hmm. Definitely respect your views, both. But there are a few things that I feel we got to get clear. All right. And this becomes my issue. The concept, number one, of reading the Bible one time or 10 times and saying, oh, that's it. That's all we need. Peace to the brother Yashar. Peace to the brother Yashar. Welcome to brother Yashar to the panel. Obviously, brother Yashar, you know the rules. This debate talk for you. You know what I'm saying? So certain things that we do on other panels we can't do here, but we definitely want to turn up, just keep it clean, keep it professional. You know what I'm saying? So as we start to explore this, right? My concern is that we are looking at this from a perspective. You say, okay, I read the Bible once, or I read the Bible 10 times. Why do I need to keep going over it? Number one, because evidently it didn't take hold. right? Because the brother Swab brought up a point about we still homeless, we still this, we still doing that. Well, if the Bible that you read really took effect, then we wouldn't be having people in our communities that are homeless or hungry or going through these things, because one of the main things the Bible teaches you to do is to look out for your brother, right? Another thing that the Bible tells us to do is while we're in quote unquote captivity, we are to set up infrastructure, right? While we are here, we are to set up infrastructure that takes care of us as a whole. So the concept number one that we need to just read it and then kind of put it down, I kind of push back on that. The other thing that I would push back on is the concept of what did the brothers say? We need to rewrite the Bible, or we need to just kind of argue with, or however you put it, brother Swab. I don't want to mess up what you said, right? But the other concern that I would have is, how can we rewrite something that we haven't even taken the time to properly understand first? Meaning, when I hear certain things about what you think the Bible says, I have to wholeheartedly once again push back, because if you were saying certain things, it means you don't understand what it says. You haven't taken the time to even read it in its original language, in its original context, to even understand the concept of, like I said, for instance, community, right? Or for instance, love for our sisters rather than the misogyny that we think exists in there, right? Love for my fellow brother rather than, oh, I hate you because you're not an Israelite, right? This concept that we hear other people pushing is not necessarily the concept of the Bible. Is there a chosen, quote unquote, chosen people? Sure. But what is that people chosen to do? That should be the real focus, right? Whoever that people group is supposed to go out and show the rest of the world how to right this system, because this system is what's corrupt. Right, now I ain't gonna get on my soapbox because I want to allow everybody else to get in.
No, that's what's up. Yeah. No,
those are just the two things.
What I said. For my people that's in the Bible, we could rewrite a Bible. I don't feel that it's necessary, but we could easily do that. Now, as far as reading the Bible and putting it down, read the Bible like you read any other book. Implement what's good into your life. Be it, and be that example. And there's no reason to say don't eat pork when you're not eating pork. And when your kids are born, you're not eating pork. They're not eating pork. A lot of the times when you see these laws that are written, they're written by a people that's not obeying them, giving it to a people that they're trying to control. If the governmental body did not commit these crimes, the people would not feel that they could commit these crimes. But when the government bootlegs liquor, has prostitution, gambling, and murder, then how do you turn around and convince the people that this is not justifiable on your level? So it's just like it's ridiculous the means that we'll go. Read it, integrate it into your life, and let's keep going. There's no reason for me to master the Bible. There's no reason for you to master the Bible. We as a whole have the Bible. We have it. If I don't know it, you know it, Yara know it, the sister know it, Yashar know it. You know, but it's like, then when does it stop? Because it's children being born right now. They haven't mastered it. So it's a circulatory thing that throws us off from addressing right now, when it keeps us studying 2,000 years ago and basing things off how it went 2,000 years ago. We have Moses today. We have Jesus today. We have Abraham today. We have a lot of great brothers and sisters that do great, awesome things that fail because we didn't glorify it in its right light. You understand what I'm saying? So I think it's like the contention for the Bible is fixable. It's just the believers are going to have patience and understanding with us. You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead, big bro.
I want to pass it over to Yara and then Brother Yashar, and then I'll come back.
Yara. Sleep at the office. Unmute your mic, brother. Yashar.
Yeah, shalom. Yeah, man. I just see it like this, right? Even when we look back into our ancient times, not everybody was a priest. Okay. So because we have access to the scriptures now, and we don't have one or a group of priests that we actually have to go to get understanding, you know, people take things out of context. People take things and use it to try and manipulate others. That's not studied up as they probably should be, or probably should have been raised to be. So when we have these type of topics, right, it's not about doing away with anything. It's about understanding our lanes. So we have certain brothers that's going to use this foundation to accomplish their goals. Then you're going to have other brothers that's going to use other things to accomplish their goals. Well, I'll say this. We come to a mutual agreement and we work together if it's possible. You don't have to change your way of doing things, just long as you're not doing things that's going to be in a negative light towards our major goal, which is to come together and accomplish this one goal. Okay, so this one goal would say, let's start building a community, right? Now, me being an Israelite, knowing everybody that's going to be involved, I have a choice to make. Do I want to live in that community that I'm helping build? Or do I want to help build and then talk to my brothers and say, well, look, because of the way things are ran and, you know, maybe the way things are being done, I would like some help so that I can establish mines over here, so that I can do this and do that. So it won't be a conflict between each other. I don't see why that should be a problem. Like, remember the concept, Swab, that you was talking about concerning your house of bricks, my house of straw?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you help me build, it's the Three Little Pigs analogy. Help me build my house to straw, I help you build your house of bricks, because everybody conceive their way as the right way. So you're looking at my house as a house of straw. I'm looking at your house as a house of straw, but I'm willing to help you build it because I know I need you to help build mine. Exactly. So instead of, you know, just support each other. That's it.
Yeah. So, so let me say this. When people, you know, I hear a lot of people say it all the time. I read the Bible, you know, 10, 100, you know, 20,000 times, and you know, at the end of the day, I still come away with just as many questions, right? But I think people, a lot of times, when you study, you can't study for what you're looking for. You have to study for exactly what it says. And let me give you an example, because I use this quite often, right? When it comes to economics for our people, we say, oh, the Bible doesn't teach us or doesn't give us anything to do with economics because it has something to do more with you know, keeping us oppressed, or it doesn't have anything in there, or what the principles in there we can't really equate them today. Well, it does actually teach you when you come along your community how you should even treat them, right? So I'm going to read scripture, right? So Exodus 22 and 24, right? Listen to this. And this, I want my black people, brothers and sisters, to really understand this, right? Exodus 22 and 24. It says, if thou lend money to any of my people, right, even to the poor with thee, right, thou shalt not be to him as a creditor, neither shall ye lay upon him interest. So you mean to tell me that the Bible teaches us that as Israelites or people in our community, that when we lend to our brothers money, we should not lend to them and be a creditor unto them?
Now let me show you why we greater than that. Who made the notion of money?
Well,
why are we even dealing with this monetary system? And why would I even
Swab, let me address you though. Just let him finish real quick, because he had waited for everybody. Let him just finish.
Yeah, let me address you there, right? Right. So Leviticus 25 and 36. I'm gonna read something else real quick, just so I can give you some precepts, right? So I read Exodus 22 and 24, Leviticus 25 and 36. Take thou no interest of him or increase, but fear thy God.
Come on, I'll turn my camera
thy
on.
brother may live with thee. right? What is that saying? So what I'm saying is, when you say how we're better than that, I'll show you why we're not better than that. So here's why. See, here's the misconception of everything is a free for all. Everything is free. How do you relegate the greed? You understand? How do you put a cap on greed? Because it's wrong. It is a misconception. It is actually highly illogical for you swab to think that everyone has the same heart and mind that you do. Yeah, you can go and plant plant an apple tree, or help your brother build a brick house or a straw house or the Three Little Pigs series. But I'm not even really want to help you build the straw house, because every time the wind blows, I gotta stop what I'm doing to go back to help you build another straw house.
You so damn stupid.
You just build the brick house. That's the Three Little Pigs.
I agree with you.
This thing can hear me talking. It suggested for me to unmute the microphone.
I agree. That's the whole point of helping somebody build that. Because once the straw house blows down, then now we
help you
want to
build
use
the
the straw
house. I'm not going to help you build the straw house just because that's what you want.
But you know what's in the but what you're missing is that it's an analogy. So what I'm saying is that you take the route that you want to take, and I support you. You support me.
I might as well not even be
on this call. You and your party.
I agree.
Hold on, y'all. Let him get it.
And you've come to the conclusion that the route I'm going is already false. Now, what made you come to that conclusion? I want to ask, but it would take for the wind to blow and actually knock it down. Then I must agree with you. Yeah, my house was a house of straw. Then I would build what I would conceive to be closer to what your house is. That's the intelligence that we must have. I wouldn't continuously ask you to build a straw house that's failing like you've been doing me, because that's what we've been dealing with. Now, as far as the monetary, why would I even deal with money? Okay, now let's say we're dealing with money. If Yara needs $100, Swab can't afford to give him $100. So I can loan it to you, right? And then you can give it back to me in a reasonable time. Or let me tell you this, I can afford to give you 10. Reese can afford to give you 10. Anonymous, Sal, Sharp, Rob, DJ Black Trump. 10 people can afford to give you $10. Now you have your $100 and there's nothing. That's how we move. That's how we move. My point is that that we didn't come from the book. The book came from us. The intelligence that's in there, we are the source of it. And so we have it, but you when you're dealing with the Bible, you're automatically dealing with people that's in a certain situation. Therefore, you're voluntarily putting yourself in that situation for these rules to apply. Now, I'm not. Go ahead, sis.
Okay, I want to interject. I would love to interject right now, because I agree with the rhetoric about us really having to deal with what we know and only what we know. Brother Swab just said, we don't come from the book comes from us. And that is what, to me, is the overarching truth, is that, like I said before, every book that is ever written by any person is their interpretation of whatever it is they're writing. And that individual has no more authority spiritually to determine what is and what isn't for other people. They can only share what resonates with them in hopes that it will resonate with the others who are reading and receiving whatever it is that they've written as an interpretation. And so I wanted to also talk about a statement that was made about us reading the Bible over and over again. And the notion that the Bible is not the problem, but yet we are. The brother said, obviously, we're not getting it. That's the reason why we need to keep reading it. And to me, that's a bit of an insult to the people and their intelligence. All of us are thinkers. I studied that Bible for a few years, and it didn't make sense to me. I'm a highly intelligent person. And so some of the unanswered questions that came from the doctrine, from the scripture, and the socio-political aspects, it didn't resonate with me. I don't understand how we can have so many churches on the street corner, on every corner. How can we have these places that are supposed to be a light to the person and to the community still reign ineffective, going on and on ineffectively in our communities? And we are looking at ourselves like we're the problem. That looks to me like it's a self-esteem issue. And that looks to me like it's a person who does not know what they're mentally and spiritually capable of. Because when somebody tells me a lie, I'm no fool. I know what a lie is. You can't tell me that I should have a free spirit and that I should be able to prosper and have happiness and have things to make sense and be in decency and in order. All of that is in the Bible. But then you throw me into a society where there is none of that, where none of that exists. And then you tell me I'm the problem, but yet the church is the majority there. It can't be that entire institutions are set up for religious doctrine to have a certain effect. Everybody thinks that it's a positive effect that the church is supposed to have because of the doctrine that it preaches. But then when you turn around and look at the outcome, you see none of those effects taking place. You see none of those side effects actually affecting the people the way the religion says that it should. And that's not an indictment on the people. That's an indictment on the religion. That's an indictment on the book. That's an indictment on the interpretation. That is an indictment on the source of whoever created this distorted version of the science that we had. And you must understand that the Bible is a scientific work of art. It is a literary piece of art. And I'm going to tell you, there's no way that reading the Bible over and over again will ever create one accord with the people. Why? This is what I wrote when you said that. People will always have a different and or opposing views because the Bible is a literary work of art that displays the essence of the universal laws of relativity, polarity, and duality. So what that means is, first of all, relativity and polarity means that and duality, we're dual natured people. We have a light and a dark. We have an up and a down. We have an in and an out. We have duality. So when you have relativity coming into play with reality, you ask a person, what does this scripture mean? And then you give them that scripture. You could ask 10 different people, what does the same scripture mean? All 10 of those people will give you different interpretations. All 10 of those people will give you different understandings on different levels of what that's one scripture meant. And so there will never be one accord because there will never be one or all people who think one way. We all have different ways of thinking. That's what makes us unique individuals. So to put a piece of literary artwork, hold on, to put a piece of,
a lot, sis. You said a lot.
And so did everybody else.
Whoa, sis, hold on.
I'm just trying to get my thought out.
This is the only point I'm saying for everybody to respond, because you giving a lot of great points, right? And for everybody, in order to give us the chance to kind of respond to some of them, I'm going to have to start asking all of us, not just you, but just all of us to kind of...
Oh, okay, I was going to say, dang, everybody else just talked for like 30 minutes.
I'm going to let you rock. I just want to put it out there because normally I do that. I did that the first time, and I didn't do it this time. But after we get the next go around, let's try to keep all of our statements to like 3 minutes if possible. Right. So that way, because there are some great points coming out, and I want to be able to address all of those points. You feel me, sis?
Sure.
Keep going.
So
I'll take a literary piece of art.
Okay, thank you.
Because
I
didn't mean to cut your field. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Because it's so much that you're saying that we need to address, and I want to give everybody a chance to address it all. So let's keep going.
Okay.
But this what the sister's also doing that I see her doing. She taking notes. So,
I am.
Right.
You see, I have a pen in my hand.
Well, I hope that everybody else.
When she hit a good point, you're gonna have to take a note, mental note, or write it down or something.
Right, because I like to let people get their stuff out. So I just write down what am I thinking about, but whatever. This is not my thing, so I'm just gonna let y'all rock how you want to rock. But like I said, to me, a literary work of art is like looking at an abstract painting. Every person who observes and takes this in is going to interpret it a different way. They're going to have a different feeling, a different understanding, a different experience with that work of art. And so I think that we need to start accepting that truth, that we are living in a universe of relativity, where whatever is true for me is not always true for everyone else. And so the Bible, because of that, cannot be used as a standardized or institutionalized system of religion. It just doesn't work that way, to say this is the set of rules that everybody needs to follow and this is going to work. That's not how the universe is set up. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you, sis. Yo, she coming. Y'all better, y'all gonna force me to have to jump out the host seat. You have to get active. Y'all better, sisters, she's knocking at the door. Y'all better say something.
Look, listen, let me say this about what a literary work of art is, right? So, as an accomplished artist, right? Anybody wants to check me out. As an accomplished artist, right? Even in abstract paintings, or what is conceived as abstract, it's only abstract to those who's viewing it. It's not abstract to the creator, right? The creator already knows what its purpose is, why he created, and what he was thinking or what he intended for his purpose to be in his creation. See, an abstract artist, he doesn't paint not knowing. He paints hoping that you'll see what he sees. And that is the understanding of the scripture, right? Is that it's God's relation to us and hoping that we see what he sees, right? And so a lot of times we go into the book and we try to extrapolate things because we don't understand it, because we're so well educated by other men that we've taken from other people's writings or literary works of art, and we consider that education, right? I consider myself highly educated, right? But when I'm reading someone else's work, I can't project my thoughts into what I think they're trying to say instead of listening to what the author is actually saying. So when the scripture tells me greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world, when he tells me that I'm more than a conqueror, right? These are things that agree with who I am, or these may be things that agree with not who I believe I may be. But if you constantly reaffirm yourself, or if the scriptures are constantly reaffirming you that you're greater than maybe what you think you are, then you can move differently. It's no different from any other thing that any one of us write or put out on our YouTube show. You're constantly affirming your audience, whether someone perceives it negatively or positively. The person who's relating the message, is it really, is the onus on them for their audience to really get or not get what it is that they're putting out there? In some aspects it is. But truth is relative. That doesn't mean the truth changes, but it's relative to those who look for it. We all see truth for different reasons in our lives. Some people seek truth to affirm the reason why they need to be racist, right? You can go and you can look at the criminal statistics of black folks, and you can see that it's high in certain levels, in certain areas. You can go and you can look at the highest abortion rates in this country, and you can perceive that as evil if you're looking for that. If you're looking for that. But if I'm looking for the truth that the author is intending to relate to me, then that's how I should be looking at it. See, an extraction is not just what the author or the painter or the creator is giving. No author or creator creates an abstraction. See, that's just how that term is for the viewer when you're viewing art. Because why? It's not that it's left open to interpretation, because the artist has already given his interpretation in exactly what it is. But it's you have to seek your own truth.
I don't want to cut you off, but
This is
Go ahead.
how can a person confirm the meaning of an interpretation without having the creator there present to verify what that interpretation actually meant?
Well, again, this is what I'm saying. As an artist, right? Matter of fact, when you write an art, do you write articles? I don't know if you write. You seem like you mean to be a writer, right?
Yeah.
You write things, right?
Yes.
So when you write things, right, and you add some colloquialisms or you write some idioms in there, do you ever have anyone who actually questions you about what it is you're writing before they actually give what you're actually writing or what you actually meant before they give an opinion?
The two things occurred simultaneously for me. When people read, they're asking questions and telling me what it meant to them at the same time.
Okay, so no one's ever said to you, "Listen, I read this piece of work that you created, and you said this, or I believe you meant this." No one's ever approached you that way. No one's ever taken the liberty to take what you wrote and extrapolate the knowledge that you put out in something and try to apply it to their life, where it's not something that you even meant for it to be.
Absolutely, right? That happens.
It happens all the time, right? So when we read the scriptures and people say, well, that white man had to write that Bible because he talks about slavery, and so it must justify slavery. It justifies rape of women. It justifies killing and this and that. Well, when we read the scriptures without careful study and actually having a context outside of the scriptures also that supports it, you can create your opinion. But the Bible, there's no new interpretation left open to the scriptures. It means what exactly it means.
So
right?
I'm asking you this. So who compiled the book?
You said what?
Who compiled the Bible?
All right, hold on.
That's another false equivalency.
Before we get
there,
before we get there, because that's gonna take us a whole nother direction. Before we go there, I want to introduce the brother Aboriginal Hebrew, Albo.
I see Yashar been trying to.
Brothers, what's up, sis? I'm just listening right now, y'all. Y'all know I'm formulating these questions, man. Keep talking.
All right, so I'm going to give brother Yashar to come in and just put a button on this topic, and then we'll go to how the Bible's compiled. I'm going to come right back to you, Suave, I promise.
All right, cool.
What's up, bro?
Just wanted to touch on what the sister has brought out about religion. It's a difference when you're dealing with our heritage versus religion, right? Religion, it established people trying to establish power, people trying to establish followers, and even deals with finances, money, things of that nature. When we're dealing with our heritage, it deals strictly with my personal relationship, not only with the Most High, but also with my sisters and my brothers. Like, how I'm supposed to, like, I can't have a relationship with my creator if I can't even have a relationship with my brother and my sister that I see and I talk to every day. When we deal with our heritage, it teaches us how to deal properly, how to deal with love, how to treat my brother and my sister as I treat myself. These things are not really pushed and taught.
You coming back?
And brought out like it should be. You know what I'm saying? It's more things that's led towards, division and separation. Well, we can get to that once we establish the love for one another. The separation comes from just simply those who think and move different than us. They separate themselves by their actions, by their words. It's nothing physical that we have to do with anyone. You understand? Once we establish what was taken from us, because again, what was taken from us, it had to be something great and awesome because they took it from us. But we can't see that right now because wherever our thought process is, you know what I'm saying? I can't speak for Suave. I can't speak for my brother Abba. I can't speak for my brother Hebrew, my elder Yara, or you, my sister, or my brother Mo. I can only speak for me what I observe, what I experience.
That's
You
right.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I
that's
don't
right.
try and speak for nobody. I don't try and speak for the mass because y'all ain't voted me into speaking for y'all, so I can't do so. So I'll sit back on that.
I agree. And I think the book doesn't have the right to do that either. The book doesn't have the right to step in and say, this is your absolute truth just because I wrote it in these pages. You have the ability as your own creator to say, this is how I want to religiously live my life because this is what religiously satisfies and serves my soul. And that is called free will. That's called, your ability to think and reason and logic. And, add your own logic to things. We don't need a text to do that because, like Suave said, we created the book. The book did not create us, and it's simple as that.
Can I ask you a question? You said that you don't need a book or an outside source of yourself to give you to give you guidance. But if we're in a world where there is no God, when we know that there is one, but let's just say hypothetically that there is no God, that means that there are no absolute standards of morality, meaning that we're all free to choose and pick what is best for us to freely satisfy our own needs, meaning that there is no right, there is no wrong. It's just up to the individual to choose what they want to do. So if we have somebody like Hitler who comes out into the world and says, I want to go out and kill people because it satisfies me, because we're all granted that right, can't nobody point to somebody like Hitler and say he was wrong? Can't nobody look at Mao and say you were wrong for killing these 200 million people because that's what satisfies you? Because if we become our own standard of morality, that means that nobody is right, nobody is wrong. There is no such thing as right.
Hey, who was that speaking? I'm sorry,
That's
y'all.
Mo. That's Mo. That's Mo. That's Mo.
Hey, Mo. Hey, Mo. Right on, Mo. Man, right on.
This is my thing that I don't see why people can't get it. First of all, you start the story off where you want to. Well, what if we have a Hitler? Hitler was reacting to something. So why did you say, well, what if we had a United States? Well, that was a reaction to something. What if we had a Europe? So let's put it in context for real. Would you kill? Would you rape? Would you steal? So where is this source of killing, raping, and stealing coming from? Why are you so alarmed that just one day one of us is just gonna want to kill everybody? That right there is a perceived notion that's been installed into your head. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you, brother. I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you, Swap. Yeah, we hear you fine.
That right there is a misdirecting notion that was put into your head.
Can I reply to that though, brother? Is because
Hold on, let him.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I
apologize. Go ahead, brother Swab.
So this is what I'm saying, and this also ties back into what Yara was saying when he said, "Well, who's going to stop the greed?" Not everybody has a home like you, Swab. Okay, so if Swab gets up every day, take one apple, and gone about my business, and let's say evil Swab comes and takes 16 apples, who should have the influence? Who should you say, peep out Swab?
It depends, Swab. Some people may want to follow the 16 apple swab. It depends.
But but this is what I'm asking. First of all, who would introduce that notion that to take 16 apples from the tree? Then if somebody did, why wouldn't Abo, Yara, Salmo Hebrew, Reese and Yashar say, yo, we got to do it like Swab? Why wouldn't you pick the person who has that inert intelligence and peacefulness and kindness, not to try to rule through murder and deception and wickedness? Why say I'd rather deal with that and then try to out-wicked him than, hey, you know what, I think we should be more like Swab?
But brother, the issue that I'm having with your explanation is you're using words like evil. Evil can only be established if you have an objective moral standard. Right. We're not talking about subjective morality. We're talking about objective. When we're talking about objective morality, hold on.
But that's not the truth.
Hold on, brother.
That's false.
Hold on.
So we can't even let that be.
Hold on, brother. Allow me to finish my point. It's not. I'm establishing simple truths about the universe around us. Either truth is objective, meaning that it's outside of us, or it's subjective, meaning that it's determined by the individual. Me, I would much rather live in a world where the truth is outside of me, because I know that I am fickle. My emotions can change. The same thing that'll make you laugh will make you cry. But wrong is wrong. So if you're going to use words like evil or good, you have to have some type of canon to be able to measure it by. If you don't have a canon to measure it by, all you're doing is giving us your subjective opinion, meaning that
what is a canon? Can you break down what a canon is?
A canon is something that you're measuring by, or a standard, a rule. So if we're saying that, look, this action that is done by this person is good, what are you measuring that by? How can you say that another person's action is good outside of just giving your personal opinion?
Well, first of all, it's not an opinion. Laws, true laws, are universal. They have a consequence no matter who it is. Black man, white man, rich man, poor man. If I jump off the cliff,
truth. What?
Okay, please have a little bit more patience. Please have a little bit more patience.
Let him finish up, man.
If I jump off the cliff with a white rich man, we both die. If I go into a court with a rich white man, we both know that the chances are we're going to come out with different judgments. So to put things in perspective, good and bad exist whether you believe in it or not.
How?
If you show I was finna do that. When you see wrong, you know it's wrong. You get a feeling. There's something in you that makes you uncomfortable. It says, this is wrong. Well, they 60, take them home, and then you see somebody go up to the tree with no apples, and then they're hungry. You know that's wrong. And what threw that off is that somebody took more apples than they were supposed to. You know this. Nobody has to come to you and teach you right and wrong. They have to teach you this systematic, manufactured right and wrong. Well, right is right and wrong is wrong. But you telling me, should I steal an apple out of the grocery store? Okay, was building a grocery store right? Was taking the fruit.
Brussoir, what makes it wrong? Is it because you're saying it wrong, or are you expecting people to absolutely?
No.
That's my question.
No. It's wrong because somebody went to that tree that provides for everybody, and there was no apple. That's
not what I asked, Brussoir. I asked, why is it wrong?
What makes it right and wrong? The fact, and now listen to the answer, because I have the answer. The fact that
hold up. Can somebody, if somebody's listening to the playback, like on
it's the fact that it puts somebody else in a state of hunger. When you know that you have to eat to live, and you know that the trees provide food to everybody, no matter what they believe in. If I kick a tree and you hug a tree, we both get a fruit off of it. That's law.
But
so
again,
the fact that
how are you saying that is law? See, what you keep giving us is your personal opinion on what you think is right or wrong. What I'm talking about, hold on.
Instead of saying that, can you show me how that's true?
Okay, I'm showing you that it's true because, again, you have not established what is objective law. What is outside of us, all right? So me, all right, let's say, hold on.
Let me get
Can somebody else talk?
Everybody, hold up. Let me jump in real quick. All right, so I'm gonna pass it over to Sister Reese, but I will, and then I wanted to come back to Mo and Swab. But at this point, I do think we need to stay here for a second, all right? Because here's the concern. The concern that I see, and I had also, looking at this as objectively as I can, is let's remove the Bible, let's remove pyramid text, let's remove the Quran, move everything out, right? Just remove it, blank slate. If we move to the point where we're talking about right and wrong, right? Because in one breath we hear, well, we're free to do as we want. We are free moral agents. But then in the next breath, there is some form of universal law, or there is some form of law that governs us. Well, I need to know where that law comes from. What is the determining factor of that law? I think that's what Mo was getting to as he was speaking about the canon. I call it a plumb line, right? If I'm building something, there has to be something that is level. Like what's level, or what's true north if you have a compass. And the reason I say that is I'm living in 2019, right? So in 2019, our communities, I have cousins who love me, know me, but they don't know the truth that I know. So their truth is, I gotta rob and steal to live, right? My mom and my dad was either in gangs or on crack. And no matter how much me, Anon being their cousin, like, look, come live with me. I got you. Nah, this all I know, fam. This all I know. Right? That's their right and wrong. So that's what I'm asking. Like, and Sister Reese get it, then Suave can get it, and we'll come back to Mo and whoever. But what is the plumb line? What is the canon, to use Mo's word, for right and wrong?
So Mo mentioned that we have to we have to lay out the lines about what's objective and what's subjective. To me, on the objective side, where truth is outside, or the way truth exists on the outside of ourselves, is the simple fact that a person like Hitler did what he did because he could. It didn't matter if everybody else around him could find the proper justification as to why it was just or not, or unjust. He did it because he could. And that's what we have to understand about this reality, and things about things being relative, because everybody is a free moral agent. And because of that fact, we are all responsible for figuring out what is right and wrong to us, because internally, subjectively, the only thing that can be right or wrong is whatever you make right or wrong.
If you give me 1 second, Brother Albo, for smoke breaks, we gotta turn off that camera. All right, up.
So that is something that we have to be mindful of, and we have to see what actually is going on in reality, like he said, around us. When we go to observe, you can look around you and tell what is a universal truth and what is not. Empirical truth is only applicable to all people. And like I said, the literary work of art that is really there to give you a literary understanding of science. The Bible is relative because it, like I said, embodies duality. So there is always going to be a part of the Bible that contradicts with another. There's always going to be somebody saying that something is right when somebody else saying that same thing is wrong. And especially when it comes to our social evolution, that's extremely apparent, because look at how Caucasians live their lives. The way they came about on this planet justifies the way they live their lives. They live very parasitic lifestyles for the rest of culture because they have to. That's the only way they can survive. And if it meant that that was the only way you could survive, would you say that it was wrong? The way that they go about the earth, pillaging, stealing, lying, killing, and doing everything else? If that was the way that you had to survive on the planet, would you say it was wrong that's the way that you're going about things? Enslaving people, lying to people, oppressing people, attacking them mentally and spiritually and physically. If that was the way you had to exist. Now, if they had never started doing these things, they would still be our slaves. And you have to know that if you know your history. Caucasians began the term slave in the first place because they are etymologically Slavic. Slavic. Slavics were the original slaves. And so, again, I ask you, would you be the one to say that it's wrong for them to subjugate everyone else to slavery when they were the first slaves? We can't be upset that they chose morally to survive in a way that they wanted to survive, because, you know, this universe says that you are supposed to pursue your own sustainability, your own happiness. These people have done that. It's just contrary to what we consider to be happiness and a prosperity and abundance and thriving. So we have to understand that the truth is within us. It's not about what's going on around us, because what's going on around us is contrary to what's going on inside of us. And that's where we have to understand what religion is for. Religion is for you to be able to apply what is inside of you to create things on the outside of you. And that's exactly what Caucasians do. They create the negativity, the whatever detrimental things they can come up with, and they manifest those things on the outside for everyone else to experience along with them. The only thing is that because their perception is changed from us, inverted from ours. They perceive things that we perceive to be bad. They perceive it to be good. And so we have to be in control of now creating things that we perceive to be good, even if they consider it to be bad.
So if I could respond to the sister.
Sure.
She said that you said that there was a duality within the Bible, and that's just simply not true. The Bible does not contradict itself because the Bible confirms itself. Also, the duality is not within the Bible, it's within ourselves. The duality is the choice to choose to do what is right or wrong, because God is the one who establishes what is right or wrong. What is more good more resembles the image of God, and what we consider to be evil is that which reflects the opposite of God. The further away from God it becomes. We within ourselves.
No, you're not reading the Bible.
Hold on, sister. I allowed you to finish your whole point. Nobody interrupted you, and I would appreciate it if you give me the same respect. The point that I'm trying to get across is you said that the original slaves the word slave is based on the Slavs. Yes, we understand that the Slavic people were slaves, but black people, white people, Chinese people, all people have been enslaved around the world. We just have a common word for it now. The issue that we see is the world has become godless, and therefore men have become the standards of their own morality.
What is God?
When we allow a man or a human being to establish their own sense of morality and get to judge by their own standards what is good or bad, we already know that that which is good is going to be pleasing to that person, because oftentimes what is good to us is not based on rationality, it's based on what is pleasing unto us.
Who can allow a person? Who can allow a person?
I allowed you to go on your whole spiel uninterrupted, and I
okay, come on, man. Wrap it up, though, big bro, because I want to respond too. I got you, Mo. Let's go, man.
Okay.
Cool.
The point that I'm trying to get across is this: there's only one way to view the world. Either there is a God or there isn't a God. If there is a God, then we should be trying to figure out what this God wants us to do, meaning that the morality that we have should be based on that God. If there is no God to judge and to guide us, that means that we are all just stardust that happen to become animated, meaning that there is no good, there is no bad, there is no left, there is no right. There's just perspective, meaning that the actions that we do.
Okay, wait a second. It's the third.
All right.
1 minute is good enough. Right. Like, what is
the rule
of what is the tool of measurement you use to decipher good or bad, right or wrong? See, this is what I'm saying. There's a creator, okay? There is a creator. Something pre-existed us and formed everything that is existing right now. Okay? I don't call it God. What you're using, the term you're using, God is painted on the roof of the 16th chapel, okay? This is what I'm saying. The laws are universal. Your food comes from the trees. When you establish a supermarket, you take the food off the trees, put it in the supermarket, you are breaking the laws. There are universal consequences to that. It doesn't matter what you believe in. That's the intelligence you must use to decipher right from wrong. It's not, well, what is the punishment or the reward? Listen, me seeing you go to a tree, me seeing 16 people go to a tree, get an apple, and see you go to a tree and not be able to get an apple, that's unlawful. That hurts
you.
Hold on. I'll let you get your whole spew out.
I didn't even get my whole spiel out. You cut me off. You went on for 5 minutes.
You reiterated 4 times. So what I'm saying is this. That's the intelligence you must have. That when I see you don't get an apple, I hurt. It don't make me weak. It don't make me any less of a man. I need to make sure you get an apple. So when I see somebody take 16 apples, I'm thinking it must be 15 handicapped people. That's a good brother. If we see 16 apples get taken and he eat 3 of them and the rest of them get wasted on the side of his bed, who don't have the intelligence to know that that's wrong?
The world.
So, no, the
world.
No, I know.
We see people starving every day.
Hold on. The sister has that intelligence. I had intelligence. And that's something that I see with my people where we like to play violent. Oh, if I didn't have the Bible, I would be a murderer and a rapist. Well, you need to listen to people like me and the sister because we not that.
Who said that? I never said that I would be a racist or I would be a murderer.
You hear the example that I use. I said that's my problem sometimes with my people with the Bible. Well, they must add. I did not say Mo. DJ Black Charm in the building. Go ahead.
Peace. No, I was just saying peace, man. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm just coming in on this.
I'm just speaking to you too.
Hey,
I'm just
all right, hold on.
Shalom to the whole panel.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Hey, just real quick to everybody, just to reiterate the rules. I know we getting a little turned up. Let's kind of try to keep it clean. I'm gonna remove the 3-minute deal because I know it's a lot that needs to get brought out. But let's kind of be cognizant and let other people speak, and then let's go one at a time. Also, you know what I'm saying, keep it clean, keep it professional. If you gotta take a smoke break, turn your camera off.
Yeah, my bad, Big Bird. My bad. No.
With the 3-minute thing, can I just ask this? Because to me, a progressive, right? I understand. I wanted to ask him on the end of that, just about the rules, because to me, a progressive discussion allows for it to build. And if a person says, 5 minutes worth of information and somebody wants to interject with a question, I think that should be allowed instead of saying, "Oh, you're cutting me off." An interjection with a question allows for the discussion to develop. And I think we should allow for that.
Well, I thought that's what has been happening. What I have been seeing happen though is, rather than questions, sometimes people interject and start talking. And so I'm definitely game for let's ask questions if someone is talking. But what we can't have is someone interjecting and then
go up a whole spiel.
Want to run a whole deal. So let's kind of be.
If I could just say, can I ask my big brother Schwab a question right quick? Because I'm still.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could just say, because I think it'll help the progression of the conversation, like. Because myself, I do that too. I reiterate 2-3 times like the brother just did. Like, I have to understand this. I understand what I'm saying. That's all. So just say what I mean. Go ahead, Abo.
Okay, Big Bird, repeat this. So now, at what point in time do you implement an absolute uniform system, or as we call it today, a law that no one should exceed the 1 apple rule? Or do we just continue to expect people to just, as you say, no?
Well, no. The thing is this. If someone takes 16 apples and they cannot see the reason why everybody has a problem with them taking 16 apples, it's just a matter of not socializing with them. We don't trade with them. We don't mate with them. That evilness dies when they die. Don't need to kill them, punish them. You just cut them off from doing the things that you do for loved ones because they're not loving you. And so therefore, I mean, I don't know whose house you're going to sleep on when you're away from your house and you need a break. I don't know, who's going to give you a bite to eat when you're away from where you're at and you need a bite to eat. I don't know who's going to give you children to continue your bloodline if you do not obey the universal laws, the way that things were set up by the Creator, not by my, ego or anything like that. Yeah, so that's just simply it. And I think that that's the worst punishment, is to be exiled, like, man, like, I really love my people and I love them so much that I'm not going to take 16 apples no more. I'm sorry. And we integrate you right back in. You are our brother, our sister.
Yeah. Now, don't you think, it ain't even about a question.
Go ahead, Shah, because I had a follow-up question because he says some good stuff, but go ahead. I want to hear what you finna say, Fab.
I just wanted to just interject on what you're saying and just add to what this is why the Most High separated us even as a nation. You see what I'm saying? We didn't have this one big old entire land called Israel and everybody just functioned there. Nah, we had the land of Gad, we had the land of Judah. So we had our place to be able to live, and do what we do. You see what I'm saying? So it's not so bad of separation, but understand that we all need our space, man, to be able to do what we do, to add to the table. Because what I do is not what Swab do. What me and Swab do is not what the sister's gonna do. You see what I'm saying? We got to be able to love and respect what we bring to the table. And I see that be a problem in a lot of conversations.
If I could tag on to the back of that, you see,
Mo, hold on, bro. I don't, because I did some BS by jumping in And brother,
I have no question.
Oh, talk good.
Oh no, y'all good. Keep going, Mo. Y'all good. Keep going.
Appreciate
All right,
you,
my
brother.
bad. My bad with thank you.
See, the issue with this idea that somehow we as people are just going to understand this universal laws, if it's like written on a wall somewhere that we can all go and look at, it's just not feasible, and it's just not living within reality. There's a reason why every country in this world has to set laws. Why? Because we know that people like to act outside of how they should be acting. There's a reason why we build jails. There's a reason why we lock our doors at night before we go to sleep. Why? Because we know that there are weird people out there. This whole idea that somehow everybody has a universal understanding of what's good or bad is just not true. It's never been historical, neither. We know that there are murderers. We know that there are thieves. We know that there are rapists. We know that there are dictators who will use power to whatever ability they can to get the most for themselves. This whole idea of universal of love or universal understanding, it's just not feasible. It's never been in the world, and you still don't see it today in 2019.
It has been in the world.
I mean, but you absolutely do see it today. You don't glorify it, but you see it.
And it has been in the world.
You don't make it mainstream, but you see it. And I'll just say this, and then I'll let your sister go. I'll shut up. Mo, I love you, brother, and I'm sorry, but like almost every statement is like on a false leg. Like the way that you present it, like, no, brother, recognizing the system that is set up for you is how you do it. The food comes from the trees. Your babies come from the women. You don't step out of that. It's simple as that. Now, when you say, oh, every country has to make, who makes a country? That's a man-made privileged stuff. Rules are written because the rulers do not obey the laws. They get them. They say, oh, we have the privilege to kill. So when they kill somebody, Queen Elizabeth, bow. She's not under no jurisdiction on earth. She kills somebody. Then somebody else say, oh, we could kill? Then now she got to write a law and say, you cannot kill. The rules are written because a certain group of people who are influencing the rest of them aren't following them. That's why you write down things, because you're not doing it. Do you write down brush your teeth if you're brushing your teeth? No. It's only when things aren't being done that you write things down. We cool. We jiggy. I don't know where we had this source of evilness and even going back to the sister. And I'm sorry because I said I was going to say that one thing, but I just remember even when the sister was talking about slavery, we loved white people. In our earliest conceptions, we did not look at white people as demons, and we took care of them. No one can come against that fact.
But you're proving my point, brother. You're literally proving my point.
I got you. I believe you. And I shut up. But this is what I'm saying. We didn't move that way. The wrong people are influencing us, bro. The wrong people are in this false sense of authority and moving a certain way. And that's why things are skewed. Not because of a source of evil within you. This is because of your comparison of righteousness next to that evil. You go ahead. Because
because brother, you're proving my point that there is no universal understanding on what's good or bad. As you pointed out, that these white people will come and do this to black people who love them. Where's the 16 apples at now? You just proved my point that there is no universal understanding of what's good or bad. Hence why we have to then establish laws within our own country, because even our own people will come against us. That we will establish laws for our country against other countries because other countries will come against us. There is no universal understanding. There is no universal love saying we should share this tree. That is a fantasy. That's in a utopia. Now, that's what we would call a heavenly place. But we live in the real world. We have to lock our doors at night.
So heaven is in the real place?
No, you're missing the point. I'm saying we're not in heaven right now. We're not in heaven right now. We're not in heaven right now. Heaven is a real place, and we're not in there right now.
It's a fictionary place that can't exist.
Because you keep talking about this universal love that we're supposed to share the 16 apples, and I'm saying that world does not exist.
That you call heaven, right?
No, I'm telling you, this utopia
is universal in heaven.
Yeah, we're in a situation where we got kicked off going live. Y'all keep building. I'm gonna put y'all all in one hangout, and send y'all the link, and y'all just gonna have to leave and come back
Okay,
in. But
great.
just
Definitely.
keep
So
keep
you
building.
telling me that there's no universal love in heaven? There's no all
No.
share the one tree in heaven?
I'm telling you, we're not in heaven.
No,
We're
can
on
you,
earth.
can you
Hold on.
answer
So
my
hold on.
question?
We are not in heaven. We're on earth. Where the
Brother,
people.
I'm asking, okay, I get that. You're not talking about what we're talking about. You just ran. I'm
No.
asking you, this what you're saying is unconceivable. Isn't this heaven?
That's the point. I'm saying that it's not in
That's
the
the
reality
lowest in
that
heaven,
we're
Mo.
in. Brother,
Brother,
there is a heaven. Are we in heaven right now?
listen, no.
Okay,
See
so
how I
then,
answered
okay,
that question?
so
No.
we're talking
Did you
about
see how I
reality.
answered your question? Now, can you answer my question? Is heaven a real place?
Yes,
with
it's
universal
real.
love? Okay, then. So you tell me, at what point am I supposed to shut up trying to make earth what you trying to make it be?
No. That's the difference. You're assuming I'm trying to make the earth into heaven. I know earth won't be in heaven.
Then you're
I
not
know
going
that.
by
Hold on. I know that heaven is going to
So
come
you go
with.
by the Bible.
Hold
Suave,
on.
relax, Suave,
Hold
Suave,
on, Suave.
relax.
As
No,
I'm
because
trying to.
you keep coming with false stuff, and
I'm not
I
talking about
hear you,
false.
Suave. I hear you, Suave.
I won't be like this when we go live, but Mo, I cannot tolerate this. You keep repeating now. What I'm
No,
asking
I'm not
you is
repeating.
this,
You keep repeating yourself. You keep telling
So
us
do
about
you
this
go by the
16
Bible?
apples. Hold on.
Do you
You
live by the
keep telling
Bible?
us. Hold on. You keep telling us that we should share these 16 apples, and I'm asking you, what part of the world does that exist? Show me that country so I can go there. Show me where this universal
There's
love
plenty
is
of
so I can
countries
be
you
there.
can look right now in Africa with kids to take a fruit down and pass it around.
Okay.
And guess what? They ain't got no book. You ain't looking for.
Hold on. Hold on. Now, let me understand this. Just because you see people sharing in the world, you're assuming that there is no evil around them. You're treating the world as if there's world. You're treating the world, brother. You're treating the world as if there's only one type of evil in
Because
the
I say
world.
exactly what I mean, and I mean what I say.
No, brother, you're
And what
confusing
what
yourself.
you just asked me is show me a place where people have the one apple theory, and I showed you, and then you now you
No, brother.
Listen, bro, you gotta start
playing,
listening.
now you're playing a game of
You're not
semantics.
understanding me.
You're playing a game of semantics. You're
Hold
talking
up.
talking about this universal love. That you said that the universal law.
Okay, let's start
that
over.
we
Let's
are
try to
going
do it
against.
again. Yeah, I am.
Okay. So these universal laws do not exist where I can go out and then go to my neighbor and the next neighbor and the next neighbor after that and say, what is your understanding of what is right or wrong? We all know we will all have different conceptions of it. That's the whole point. So
now let's put this in perspective. Where does food come from?
What do you mean? Where food comes from? The earth.
Okay. Is that right or wrong?
What do you mean? Is that right or wrong?
Don't play stupid. See, this is
I
what
don't
y'all
understand
always
your
do.
question.
Now,
Is it right or wrong that the food comes from the earth?
Is that right or wrong?
What does that mean?
Food comes from the earth. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, it comes from the. I just said it did. Why would you
Is
ask
that
me
right or wrong?
What do you mean right or wrong?
Is it right that the food comes from the earth, or is it fucked up that the food comes from the earth?
That's how it is. What do you mean? Is it right or wrong? That's how it is.
And I know you smarter than this. Who put the food from the earth? Who made the system that food comes from the earth?
God. God.
So is it right or wrong?
Is it right or wrong?
Hey, Suave,
what does that question even mean? Brother.
What's your email address?
Is it right or wrong? Okay,
do you want me to post it in the chat for you, brother?
I would like to ask a question.
The whole joint. I'm gonna let you get it real quick, Sister Reese. I'm just trying to put all y'all in one group real quick, so I can get everybody back on and go live. Just tell it to me right now, so I can add you to this group, brother. What's your email?
It's SILIBYN@gmail.com.
All right, so SILIBYN@gmail.
Yes, sir. No. Forgive me. No. Let me make sure I got that. No, it's. Let me make sure I spelled that right. I ain't spelled this shit in a long time. My bad, brother. It's
good,
It's okay. It's SILIP. SYBN@gmail.com.
All right, so I got SILIPSYBN@gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
Got you. All right, y'all can continue.
I had a question.
Yes, sister.
The spirit of what you're saying that what he's trying to give you is the concept of some kind of utopia. But what you're saying is a lot like where we're living right now, where we have people who egotistically control society based on what they think is right or wrong. And so what we got to understand about laws is that we do have natural laws. That's where natural science comes from. I mean, chemistry, alchemy is perfect. Another perfect example of what a natural law is. And so to create laws of the land, a man-made construct, which is supposed to govern people, to tell them if they are doing right or wrong. It's an egotistical form of control, because who are you to tell somebody what is right or wrong? Who is that other person who created the law? Who is that person who's they're telling everybody else what's right or wrong? Right now, we live under an oppressive government that passes laws every day that we don't agree with as a whole, as a group, community of people. But also, think about the lack of control of laws that are not natural laws. Unnatural laws or man-made laws are just words on a paper. We have all kinds of laws that tell us don't text and drive. I text and drive every day. I don't care about that law. It's written, but I don't have to follow it because it's not a universal law. We have things all over the place that is just written. So what difference does it make if a person writes down laws somewhere and then tries to make everybody else ascribe to these laws and follow these laws? If the person does not want to, with their own volition, their own free will, come to a place where they want to actively follow the law, that is the only time where the law will be followed and the effects of the law will take place, unless it is a universal law. And when you say that universal laws don't exist, that's a fallacy altogether, because gravity exists.
I never said that.
You said that there is no natural, you said there is no universal law.
Who said that?
You
I
did.
said that there is a universal law.
I'm
God
sorry,
sets
unless
the
both of
standard.
us got you mistaken. I thought you said that too.
That there is a universal law, that we have God who establishes the law of how we are to act morally and building our characters up. And of course, there's laws that govern the universe, gravity, the nuclear forces. We recognize this. But this idea that somehow, hold on, this idea that somehow that there's supposed to be this universal good. See, we can't measure good with science. You can't measure evil with science neither. These are perspectives that we hold within our own psyche. So when we're talking about, well, when we look out into the world and see the natural laws, yeah, I see it every day. And the idea that nature can teach us law
What's your email?
The idea that nature can teach us law is just it's an endeavor that's very dangerous. Why? Because I can go out into nature and I can look at a lion. A lion is a prime hunter in nature. Matter of fact, what does a male lion do every day? His one job is not to go and catch food. I'm sorry.
Hold up. Let me get
bro, what's your email, bro?
Let me get all these emails straight real quick so I can get this.
MacBooway@gmail.com.
Wait, what?
MacBoo WADE@gmail.com.
So MAC
Wade.
Yeah,
at Gmail. At Gmail. Hey, Charm, you still on there?
My brother.
Charm, you still on?
I think Charm did.
And then Mo, we got SILIPBYN.
No, I put it it's in the chat. If you want to get it directly, I put it in there.
Which one?
The chat that's part of the room that we're in right now. It's on the side page.
All right, I'm with you.
But
you kind of just made the point though, sis. That's exactly what the problem is in my sight. It ain't the rule, it's the people. You just made that exact point because, like you just said, you know for a fact that it's against state road regulations to text while operating a motor vehicle. Yet you openly admitted that you yourself do it nevertheless.
That's right.
Disregarding.
But that is not a law. That is a
law.
That is a preference. That is a preference privilege, brother. That is a preference privilege.
Can I
Hold on.
Can I finish my point?
One sentence.
Hold on, brother. I didn't. All right, go ahead, man. I didn't even get to finish my
These
point.
These things that y'all calling laws, they're preference.
What is a law, Swab? What is a law? Because I don't think you understand that you're saying the same thing right now that I'm saying. What is a law?
The law that I'm thinking that you're talking about are the medicinal laws.
I mean, there's law.
Municipal laws.
There's a law, period. That's what I'm asking. What is a law?
A law is something that is definite, that keeps the things in order. It's a tool of order.
To say the least, a thing prescribed. You're absolutely right. It is a prescribed thing.
Okay, now, so what I'm telling you is this. Her driving the car past the speed limit is not a law. That's a privilege enforced militarily.
Now, what is a privilege?
Okay, quick question. Can y'all see that link? I just posted it.
Is it a privilege for me
right now
to be a safe motorist, or is that an absolute?
Y'all know how
Thank
y'all
you.
see it?
Yeah, we see it.
Y'all come on to the next one.
I don't
see what a law does. What a law does is a law makes you accountable. That's what a difference.
Y'all see it, right?
Law and a preference privilege. Those are two different things.
Hold on. One second. I got you. I got Charm email if you need it, Anonymous.
Yeah, if everybody can just click that link, I just put the link.
Male lion does is he goes and he kills all the cubs because he's not going to raise another man's babies. And he wants to establish his line to be the dominant line. And this is where the atheists who don't believe in God and went out into nature and came up with this whole idea of evolution, and they came up with the theory of survival of the fittest. That's from observing nature, that the strongest is the one that spreads its genes, the strongest is the one that survives. And when we look out into the world, what do we see? We see not a nature that people are taking that they're conforming to the laws of God, but they're actually conforming to a godless universe, meaning that there is no right, there is no wrong. It's doing what is best for yourself. And if doing what's best for yourselves, meaning take 16 apples from a tree instead of leaving some for everybody else, that's fine. There is no right, there is no wrong. You're doing what is best for you. And if that means stepping on other people trying to get to that point, nobody can point to them and say that's wrong.
Exactly. And laws won't stop that.
And that's the point. So
if law makes you accountable, that means we can now judge you. We can now pass sentence on you because you deliberately disregarded a set rule, a set standard. That's the difference between a governing law and what you all are expecting people to do. See, that's an expectation. You're expecting people to just know. And that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong.
How is it wrong? If I murder somebody, don't I know that I just did something wrong?
No,
if it's not something that is set in stone, no, it's not wrong. How is it wrong? What do you mean?
If you feel wrong after you've done it, then that's something that's totally subjective to you. But who can say you're wrong if it's not a law, if it's not a set standard?
That's what I mean. Even if the law is
no,
written.
That's not what you mean, sis.
You can't tell me what I mean.
Listen to what I'm saying, sis. By your own omission, you will look at a law written and you will disregard it. That doesn't mean everyone disregards it.
But the possibility.
That leaves not only an open door for you to make a choice, but that also leaves the open door to accountability. And that's what
having a law written.
I keep coming back to for what I'm saying. It's all about
having a law written does not stop a person's freedom from doing whatever they want to do.
Never said this.
But that's what I'm saying. I know that's not what you said. That's the reason why I'm saying it.
I can't punish you for something that I haven't established, though. That's what you keep.
You can't punish me at all.
Punish you for something that is not. It's murder. If murder is not illegal, then what is it? It's legal. If it's not on docket as an illegal act, that is punishable by such and such amount of years incarceration or even up to death. If this is not legible, then sis, what are we working with?
This is what I'm talking about, you guys. The construction of law. The construct of law.
And on what grounds?
You guys are coming down from where I'm at.
And on what grounds?
You guys are coming down from where I'm at to have this discussion. What I'm saying is that the whole entire construct of law is inapplicable when it comes to man's law. Somebody sitting around debating about what's right and wrong, and then writing down on a piece of paper or enacting that, okay, this is the statute, this is what's right, this is what's wrong for all of society. It is futile, because again, if I don't give a care about your laws that you wrote down on the paper, it's only applicable to you. It's only applicable to you. You're writing laws that apply to you. They don't apply to me if I don't care about them. Just like I just said, the state of Georgia, wait a minute now, the state of Georgia wrote out laws that says I can't text and drive. To the state of Georgia, that is the law. I'm supposed to abide by that to the state of Georgia. Do I care that the state of Georgia wrote that law and says that I'm not supposed to text and drive? No, I don't. I still text and drive.
I'm sorry, Mo.
No, I won't. I got tickets to my ears right now.
Miss Mo, I'm sorry, Mo, but she actually going right back to where I was at. So now, sis, when you get caught in that act,
I don't care. I still don't care.
What you can say you don't care, sis. That's not what's on the table right here. We're just discussing, is the law applicable to you or no? Now, in the state
no, it's not applicable to me because I don't follow that law.
Yo, everybody quiet down. I got an echo.
It's not applicable to me if I don't follow that law.
So look, so that's the point that I wanted to get into. All right, because we'll go round and round about right and wrong, I guess, kind of in a way for, all till the cows come home. So my point is how you said you don't care about said law, right?
Right.
So once we move into that realm of not caring about said law, then is the law the problem or is the person the problem? And I need that to be real.
That's what I'm trying to say to you guys. It is always going to be about the person. Always about the person.
Okay,
you cannot create laws or expect laws that were created to apply to all people or to govern or control all people. So the mandate of laws is futile.
So that's my point, though. I wouldn't say that it's futile. Now hear me out.
It's futile.
Hold on. If we choose to participate in the same governing body, we are participating in the same society, right? Meaning, if my paradigm is I live from the Bible, for instance, right? Let's just get down to brass tacks. If my paradigm is I live from the Bible, because what you had said earlier was, and I wrote it down, was basically that the Bible, or us living from the Bible, since I'm in the kitchen, let me make sure, because I don't want to misquote you, right? But the point that I'm trying to get to is this is what you were saying. It's to say that we aren't understanding the Bible is an insult to people's intelligence, right? No, that's not an insult to people's intelligence. What it is a direct attack on our morality. That's really my point. Right?
Okay.
And here's what I mean by that. If, this is what we read in the scripture, if I didn't know what the law, or if I didn't know what sin was, I wouldn't basically know not to murder. If I didn't understand these things, I wouldn't know that these things were wrong. Right? And that's the point that most true Bible believers, I'm not going to speak for many religious organizations and things like that. Most true Bible believers are operating from the paradigm of this book is showing us what's right and what's wrong. And if we truly believe in it, and if we truly adhere to that concept, then we will try to follow it. And what you're saying is from your premise, right, is let's go back to the text messaging concept, right? You're saying, I don't care about that law, but now we have several studies that show that if you're texting while driving, you can cause an accident. It is the cause of several deaths. So now what do we do with you in terms of our society that we are trying to create?
Nothing,
right?
because nobody can
Hold on.
control what I'm doing in my car.
But I can control whether or not you participate in our society, and
But
that's
you
the
don't know what
point.
I'm doing in my car.
If you get into an accident, or if I
I've
have
yet to
people on
cause
the
any
street,
accidents.
hold on. But if I have police on the, if I have a police, now, and I'm not saying I like the text messaging law, right? I'm just using this as the example. So let's not
I'm
go
making a point
crazy.
along with you. As you're talking, I'm making a point along with you.
Okay, hold on, Swab, because I've been real chill. I've been real cool. So just give me this last little interaction, right? So, but the point becomes this though, right? While staying within the text messaging paradigm, if I'm watching you and I know that statistically speaking, at some point in time, if you continue to do this, you are going to get into an accident, whether it's your fault or whether the person in front of you slams on their brakes, whatever the situation is, the potential for you to do that is still there. So therefore, I'm saying in order for you to participate in this particular paradigm, you need to adhere to these laws. If you don't want to participate in that paradigm, then ride your bike or catch the bus or ride the train.
And you will forever be saying that, brother. You'll forever be saying that. But listen, you will never know what I'm doing in my car. You will never know what the individual, I'm going to put this on a grander scale. You will never be able to interject your perception into the lives of other people to see if they are living specifically how you believe the law says they should live. So you cannot put yourself in that position of authority to say, this is law, this is how you should live, because you cannot go and step into everybody's shoes and determine what they're doing that's right or wrong. I'm sure, let's just say there was a law right now that was written that says you have to go and vaccinate your children no matter what's inside of those vaccinations. Would you break that law?
I have broken that.
Okay, exactly.
I have broken that law.
Because the law does not apply to people who do not adhere to it.
Hold up. So now let's get to it then. Let's get to the core of the matter here, right? So now let's go to the Bible, right? So there are certain laws that are universal in that Bible, right? Now we are not in a position where we are bringing forth capital punishment or things like that, right? This is the beauty of what we see happening in the eschatological timeline, right? So now what's happening is those that adhere to the law, that adhere to the things that we see in this text, you know how we'll know that they're keeping the law? Not because we have a police running around here monitoring them or anything like that, but because they will act and live a certain way. That is the point that we were making, right? If you understand what you are seeing in this text, you truly will act and live a certain way. Now, understand what a person like Swab will say is, well, I didn't need nobody to teach me such and such and such. Well, guess what, family? I'm not Swab, right? I grew up being taught to go and fornicate with as many women as I could possibly, right? That's how you define yourself.
But somebody taught you that, though, bro.
Hold on.
Right.
So this is the point so let me finish my point. So somebody taught me that, right? So guess what happened? Somebody had to come and show me the Bible and if I'm adhering to the Bible. I'm not saying you have to, but if we're
the
talking
camera's
about
off,
truly adhering
you can
to
come
that
and
book,
sit down if
right?
you want.
Someone showed me what that book was really saying, and now I understand if I really want to live out what I see in the Bible, then I won't live that way. That's the point that true biblical believers are trying to bring forth. I'm not attacking you for your paradigm. We get called religious nut jobs. We get told that we're believing in fairy tales. We get told all of these things when this text has actually made a difference in our life.
Well, respectfully, brother, we get told we going to hell and that we heathens and demons and devils and Satans and Lucifers.
And it's wrong on both sides. But I will say this though. The book says that, right? So just like you're saying, well, if you're going to say that, you got the right to say whatever. You're right. You have the right to say that. And I have the right to say that there is a punishment for violating what I see in the book. Does that mean that I have to now go to civil war with you? I don't think so.
Sure, why not? If you could tell me what to do, I could tell you what to do. If you could tell me that the way I'm living my life is not, oh yes it is. Oh yes it is. If you could tell me that I cannot do something in my life, then I could turn around and tell you that you can't do something in yours. And you think we're not gonna go to civil war about that?
Hold on, but what did I say? All of these things, hold on, Swab. Sis, by me telling you that I believe in this book and the book says that we shouldn't do this, and you say, well, I don't live my life according to that book. What else do we have to talk about?
Listen, if I tell you that this is the
No,
way I
that's
live my life,
He answered that question though. That's a real question.
what?
Exactly.
What?
So,
What?
if
What
I tell
question?
you, if I'm reading this book and I say, look, if we are living according to this book, this is how we are to govern ourselves. And you come to me and say, I don't live my life according to that book does not govern my life. What else do we have to argue about? We can piece up and go get some money, or we can say, look, we'll go our separate ways. That's the point I'm saying. There is no need for a civil war. If you choose to tell me I don't believe in that book, then let me believe in that book if it's helping me get to a new level. I'm not fighting with you.
We talking about laws and consequences. You just said that there's a consequence.
Hold on. The consequence comes when we start interfering with whatever, like for instance, if you don't like what I have to teach, don't listen to what I have to teach.
Right. But where does the consequence come from?
The consequence comes if you start to live or say, I'm living my life according to this law, or if you attack me for saying that this is how I think people should live their life.
Where did attacking come from?
What was that?
Where did attacking come from?
We all do it. The point that's why I just made. We all do it.
Well, I don't fall into that category. I don't attack people for how they live because I know I live my own life how I live.
And that's why I say, you got to learn to know the Black power, because a lot of people did have that. But the religion is not enough to divide me from my people.
Exactly.
It's not
at all.
So this is what I'm saying. You can tell me, because I could grab Pinocchio tomorrow and say, Pinocchio.
Let me ask you one quick question though.
Go ahead.
Am I religious? I'm gonna let you go, Swab, but I gotta cut you off once or twice. Am I religious if I believe in the Bible?
If you what?
If I live my life according to the Bible, does that automatically make me religious?
No, it does, because listen, I live my life by the Bible. If you want to say that, I don't kill, steal. Did I get that from the Bible? No.
Thank you.
But a lot of the stuff I say, people that believe in the Bible say, that's in the Bible. Hey, you sound pretty biblical right now.
It's in your DNA.
It's goodness in the book.
It's in your blood. That's the reason why the book came out of us. Because it's in our blood. We don't need the book to interpret ourselves. That's why the book tells you, know thyself, love thyself. Because you are the book.
That doesn't mean you're living your life by the Bible. Go ahead. But that's not.
When you're living your life according to your goodwill, when you're living your life according to your.
You can't do that. I'm not saying you can't do that. But I think we do need to draw lines and say, okay, if you're doing
for who?
You're not living in terms of definitions.
Who are you drawing the lines for?
I'm drawing the lines for all of us.
No, you don't draw lines for all of us. You draw lines for you.
Hold on, sis. Relax. And I'm going to tell you why I said that. Because you can't tell me, if you reject my paradigm, you can't then say that you're living by my paradigm. My paradigm is that I live by the Bible. Your paradigm is that the Bible is just a work of literary art. Correct?
To be appreciated for what it is. It teaches you lessons. Right. It teaches you lessons so that you learn.
But for you, it's inaccurate to say that you live your life according to the Bible, because
that's not inaccurate. No, it's not inaccurate to say that.
You just said that you live your life according to
my free will.
I live my life according to the encyclopedia.
Listen,
I live my life.
Thank you. I live my life according to everything that I consume.
Right. So the Bible, once again, and this is where the issue comes in, right? Is you're trying to impose your thought process on me. I'm not trying to impose.
No, I'm not. We're having a discussion.
Hold on, sis. Hold on. I'm not trying to impose my thought process on you. I'm saying I live by the Bible that says, the Bible says we have to adhere to certain tenets. Some of those tenets are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? What you then come in turn and say is, well, the way I interpret it is I'm doing whatever I choose to do, and that makes me also live according to the Bible. The issue then becomes is when those that are either persecuting or watching, then they clump us all into the same category, and that's what creates the civil war. That's what I'm telling you. Have your paradigm. Your paradigm, I have no problem with what your paradigm is. But if my paradigm is... Go ahead.
Now, do you realize that your paradigm is the dominant paradigm?
What does it matter if it's dominant?
That's not my fault. That's not my fault.
What does that matter?
I don't know why questions can't get answered, Mo. Do you realize that
Hold
your
on, by
paradigm,
saying, hold on.
Mo,
I just answered
Mo,
your
do you
question by
realize
saying,
that your
I just
paradigm is the
answered your
dominant
question.
paradigm?
Yes, it
Answered
is.
your question by saying,
Okay, there you go. So who's imposing what on who?
No. See, I think
Oh,
there's
goodness.
a major part. I think there's a major part that's being missed here, which is responsibility and consequence, right? You keep talking about these paradigms, and even the sister was saying you can't impose your laws on me if I choose not to follow it. That's fine. That's exactly what the scriptures teach us from the beginning. Is the idea of consequence and responsibility. See, just because you choose not to live within a paradigm does not mean that you now lose responsibility. See, if the United States sets laws upon us and says, look, you have to live within this paradigm. You cannot go out and kill. Any person right now can go pick up a gun and go and kill somebody. But understand that there's a consequence. You now bear a responsibility. Just because you don't want to accept the law does not mean that the law will not impose its paradigm upon you. Doesn't mean
That's
that you
all
are
I've
free
been
from
saying the whole
responsibility.
time.
Can I speak on that one point?
You make it
Go
right.
ahead.
The fact is you have a conscious choice that you are making. The laws are there to keep society running. The same way God's laws are designed to keep us upright, so that way we will live in accordance to Him. But He's given us the choice to refuse Him, just like the law gives us a choice to refuse it. But
You
understand, the
cannot
moment
refuse the Creator. You do not have that choice.
brother,
See, that's what I'm
yes,
talking.
you do.
These
You have
are
free will.
yes,
Like
you
it kind of
do.
sounds like
these-
this is the saying that
these-
everybody should walk
let
by
me-
their own wills. Is that what she?
Uh-oh.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. Hold on. Whoa,
Yes.
I'm taking it as that.
Everybody
It
fall
seems
back.
like when the
Hold
rock is
on.
thrown, it can't.
Hold on.
Can we hold on? Because he just
This is
said,
what I'm.
Hold
This is
on.
what I'm saying.
All right,
This
we're
is
gonna
what
let
I'm
Swan
saying.
go. Then I'm gonna let G-Con and Sister Reese interact a little bit because he did come in and speak directly to Sister Reese.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I'm saying. You cannot live outside of the created laws. Blah.
you can't.
That's where y'all getting it wrong at.
That you can't.
The things that
Wow.
y'all the things that y'all calling laws are privileges that are militarily enforced on us through threat of murder and imprisonment. They're not laws.
They're not
The
laws.
things that are laws have universal. Okay, I'll shut up.
Thank you.
No,
That's
you good.
absolutely right.
You good? Hey,
That's
look,
absolutely right.
look, I wholeheartedly disagree with both of you on that.
Right. I just want to cut in real quick. Let me cut in real quick because I want to say what I'm seeing on the outside looking in, because I'm listening to the sister. She said, she's saying, like, are you saying that everybody should follow what they will to do with their own will, or is that what you're saying?
Brother, yes. And I want to ask you this question immediately. Do you think that we're doing anything else other than that right now? Living according to how we want to live our lives?
I think we are doing that, but with that logic and reasoning is kind of weird to me, because just in that case, then the white man is justified by what you just said, what he's doing. Thank you. Because he's walking out.
Slavery is not wrong.
Are y'all hearing me? Are y'all hearing me? Hold on. Wait. Are y'all hearing me?
That is her point.
That is my point. We are all doing what we want to do. So the law, like Suave just said, the laws that are written by man do not apply to all men. They are out there doing whatever they want. They're not thinking about the laws that we following, because they don't follow those same laws. They are.
Not applied to them though.
But they do apply. But that's the reason why that's the reason why they're self-destructing right now. Because we live on a system of life, laws that govern life. They live on laws that basically cause death. They are living as the inverted version of what we are.
Suave actually just kind of contradicted what you said, and then you kind of contradicted yourself.
How?
And that's fine, and that's indeed, and that don't.
How? Tell it to me.
If you're saying, Suave just said, when it comes to certain laws that we see, we're not outside. I mean, we're not outside of the laws of the Creator. But clearly, we don't even relate to each other in the black community. We're killing each other. Just as we see that
That's not what that got to do with
At all, because we know that it's wrong. We know that it's wrong.
Hey, let that brother finish his point. He just came on. Let him finish.
Listen. This is all I'm saying. I'm listening to y'all listening in, and y'all need to go back and replay this. You guys are telling people that you should act out your will, and we all are out. You can act out that will, but there is consequence to that. Now, when you say that we're not outside of the laws of the Creator. How is that not so when there's murder in our communities, there's molestation,
Because the
there's
Creator
homosexuality.
allows murder. The
Wait,
Creator
hold on.
allows.
Hold on, Swab. Let me ask you this: you got kids, right?
You just ran.
Okay, I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna answer that, bro. Listen with this question.
Yes, I have
Okay,
God.
so with you having kids, right? This is the problem with what you just said. Now, just because your kids are doing something right, and that you not told them to do right, and you might ain't got to them yet, but you keep telling them to stop doing it. Does that mean that you is that your will that what they're doing, or you gonna punish them for that?
Now, just like y'all always do, you start the story off where you wanted to. My child is doing something bad. I'm gonna say, what are they doing, and who did they get that from? Am I smoking in front of my child and I catch my child smoking, or is my child doing something that I really don't? Who taught you that? What did you get
What's
that
the
from?
conclusion, though? What's the conclusion to the matter?
The
though? What are you
conclusion
gonna
is
do?
understand where that came from and set that
How
right.
you gonna judge that though? Set it right? You're gonna judge that. You're gonna deal with it, right?
Social conditioning. Social conditioning.
This is not a universal law you're talking. But G-Con, listen, you keep moving. This is not a universal law you're talking about. This is a privilege that I set in my home. This is a privilege that I set in my nation.
Morality. This is object. Because listen, when you say conscience, right? We already know the prefix "con" is joint. Science is knowledge. That means you have joint knowledge. So who is this moral faculty with? Who is this
that means
conscience
that there
with?
is a
the
knowledge
source.
of that. You're the con. Now look what you just did. Con means join, and in science means knowledge. So that means you got to join knowledge. No, that means that all knowledge comes from one place. You
and where does it come from? Everybody has conscience, right? Everybody is conscious, right?
Collective
I would
conscious.
like to believe so, yes.
Right. So if that is the case, you have what you call objective morality. But who are you? Who is that? Who is that morality been compassed to? In other words, where's your measuring stick? That joint knowledge that you have is measured to your
My
creator.
measuring stick is the laws, the real laws, not these privileges that y'all keep trying to call laws.
What are real laws? What are real laws? Where are they found?
You keep cutting me off to ask me to explain. You cut my explanation off, Mo. I don't know what it is.
Keep going, Swab. Just keep going, bro.
Okay, I got to think, bro. But I want to bring attention to it so it don't keep happening. So this is what I'm saying. If someone walks off a cliff, they die. They die. That's a law.
It's a law.
What you're talking about is this is how I would prefer things to be.
Right.
And I'm willing to punish you over them. That's not a law. That's a preference set on honor, whether it's because you're my mother and I love you. You say pee in the toilet, not in the tub. But I think you pee in the tub and it's better. So I honor your system because you my mama. Or there's a whole thing of, well, you military enforcing this on me, and I don't want to pay the penalty, so I'm gonna go along with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you gotta put things in perspective. These are not God ordained things
at all.
They have nothing to do. They are not the Creator's laws. Man wrote those down. The Creator allows killing. Animals kill animals every day. You have a special intelligence. Yes, do what you want, but do you want to kill, G-Con? I don't want to kill. So guess what happens? Nobody kills.
Whoa, time out. Nah, see, this is where we start.
Shut up. I say this and then I shut up. It's only when somebody enforces their law on you to make you kill. They make you kill.
Okay, so
even if somebody breaking your house, so you kill them. You did a wrong.
Let's get at it. Let's get at it.
If you kill somebody that breaking your house,
because now we talking about what God has shown us. Because now you're talking about empirical evidence, right? So your point is saying,
let me say this last thing, please. Even if you kill somebody who broke in your home, you're doing a wrong that you're willing to accept the consequences from. Okay, go ahead.
See, so this once again, bro. Now this is where I got to start calling you on the map. Okay, and here's what I'm saying. All right, because I keep seeing the bar move, and I'm gonna tell you why the bar is moving. Right. So now you're telling me you compare this to animals, right? Animals kill all the time. But then, if someone breaks into my home,
I did not compare us to animals, brother.
By making the comparison,
that's what I heard, brother.
I know.
By making that analogy,
brother,
one and two or not, that's the comparison. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Right? Because you just said that the Creator killing happens all the time. The Creator allows animals to kill. Did you not say that?
I said the Creator allows killing. There's no instant.
Right.
Like, yeah.
So the point is, if He allows killing, then at what point is killing wrong? Once again, where do we get this right or wrong from? Second point is, now if someone breaks into my house, they break into my house, they kill up my family, they rape my children, and just to stop them, I have to kill them. Now you're saying I'm going to be punished because I had to stop that person from doing all of this manner of what because we're talking about now what we
I did not say you're going to be punished. Y'all got to quit trying to slide them one-liners in. I didn't say
that was your
I literally just said what?
This is the whole conversation. It's consequences and repercussions. Is it not? Is that not what we talking about?
There is no consequence to death.
Listen. Y'all are talking to talk. You are not listening.
I got you.
Please, just let me finish, bro. I promise. I've been letting y'all get it the whole time. Just give me about 3 minutes to rock out. All right. So the reason I'm talking about consequences. You said if you step off a cliff, the consequence is what? You die. Correct?
Yes.
Right? If you break into someone's house, guess what? The consequence is you might die.
That's not universal.
Yes, that is universal, bro. I'm gonna tell you why it's universal. No, that is not.
You don't instantly die when you break into somebody's house.
You instantly die when they defend themselves.
That's not universal.
It's not.
Look, bro. I'm not even. I'm a host. So
That's
I'm
not universal. You breaking somebody. Listen, bro. You breaking somebody's house. Somebody shoot you. You breaking somebody's house.
Universal. Listen. Okay. So now I'm gonna give you real life facts. Okay.
Let's go.
I was a paratrooper. I jumped out of planes. There are people whose chutes did not open. They fell and they hit the ground. It is not universal then that everyone that jumps off a cliff or that jumps out of a plane and hits the ground dies. So then stop saying that. I'm going off of your paradigm.
No, yes. Now,
listen,
if you want to
brother, stop. I'm going off your paradigm, and then you keep moving the bar. That's what I'm saying. If we gotta at some point in time we have to have the proper paradigm so we can get the points across. But we can't do that if you keep moving the bar. So what I'm saying is we either have a universal law of someone does something and there's a consequence, or we can just define what it is. And if you're defining what it is, and this is the point I've been saying the whole time, and I think other people, if you are defining what it is, there has to be a plumb line or a canon or whatever it is that you are using to define it. Otherwise, it is anarchy. Y'all go ahead.
Define what? And what I think the part that you might just be overlooking here is that there is no moving bar. What's happening is that universal truth happens at a global level. Death, it happens as a part of life. It is a universal cycle. And so there is no consequence to death. It's a part of life. We're talking about, and if he says,
that's not what I said.
But there's a consequence.
You gotta let us say it anyway, though, because that's what y'all keep doing.
No, that's not right, Swab. Because I told people to stop.
Say one thing I say, and then you slide your own word in there, and I gotta sit through it while everybody already has a wrongful creed. Like that's not what
I disagree with that notion, bro. I try to be very fair. With letting everybody get their point across.
Absolutely. I didn't say you stopped me from talking. I'm saying once you say my point, you say, so what you're saying is, and that's wrong. Because you're telling me, you're interpreting my word.
Brother, did you now let's get to it since you said it. Did you not say if you step off the cliff, you die?
Yeah.
So is not death the consequence for stepping off the cliff?
Yeah, that's the consequence.
Right. So we were having a conversation on death or responsibilities and consequences, correct?
Uh-huh.
So no one is misquoting you, bro. That's not what I
did. No. Keep going.
Because you introduced a parachute.
I'll keep going.
You introduced a parachute into the analogy.
No, it's the same concept. If someone
jumps
out of a plane, listen, if someone jumps out of a plane and they hit the ground, it is automatically assumed that this person dies, but that is not always what happens. Just like if someone steps off of a cliff, because his paradigm was, if you step off a cliff, you will die. He didn't say if you step off of a 20,000-foot cliff, you die. Or if you step off a 100-foot cliff, you die. Right now, once again, and that's the point I'm making, if we are going to get specific and start defining it, then we have to have a measurement.
Then we're going to get specific and define it then, because if a human being steps off a cliff without a parachute, then they will die. That is a universal truth and law.
You say what again now?
I said, then if we're going to get specific and technical like that and define it, then that's fine, because universal law is technical and definable. So if a person, human being, without any type of added supplements or technology attached to their body, if they fall off of a cliff, that's a building, one story, they gonna die. We're talking about a human being falling off of a cliff. Obviously, they're going to die.
Hold up.
And this is my point.
No, listen, bro. No, I'm not going to gloss over that, right? Because now becomes...
I just was still trying to reply.
This is my whole point, sis, right? That's my whole point. You want to define it. If we're going to define it, then we have to have a measuring stick. That's the point I'm making, right? Because
was that not good enough?
No, because now it's an inaccurate measuring stick.
What's inaccurate about what I said?
Even Suave said, if you jump off one cliff, if you jump out of one-story building, you're going to die. No. In the military,
we said a cliff. A cliff.
Okay, so as we move to a cliff, then how high is the cliff? I'm trying to...
Does it matter?
Yes, it matters.
It's not a game. That's
why we're dropping 10,000 feet.
I'm sorry, y'all, but the sis just said it doesn't matter. Now, you didn't do that when my big brother Swab. Now, that's my big brother, sis, so I ain't trying to call no discourse here, but when Swab did that same move to the brother, you didn't say nothing.
I'm saying, does that matter? That's a valid question, is it not?
Do he punish his kids when they do something wrong? The man said it depends on where did they get that from.
No. I went into detail. I'm saying you just put me and my kids.
So the brother. So what I'm saying is the brother's doing the same thing. So why is he
because he's talking about. Because he's talking about his personal family home.
You know me, Swab. My bad. The sis don't know me yet, but sis, I'm Albo sis.
I appreciate you for saying that, and I appreciate that, because neither am I.
I'm listening to everybody.
Thank you, and I'm not either. And the reason I'm gonna explain that, because he was talking about his personal family home. Only he can say what is absolute law in his home. But anybody that is a part of this earth on this planet will tell you that if a human being that does not have on a parachute or any kind of safeguards, if they fall down into the Grand Canyon, that they're going to die. You're not going to tell me that that's not a universal law. Everybody can tell you that.
That's not what I was saying, sis. I'm saying the same thing that I said initially. You interjected or objected when the brother just was basically doing the same thing that Swab did in an attempt to avoid his question.
I didn't avoid a question.
And I'll bag it back.
No, not you, sis. No, but you objected. That's why I noticed that you objected. So I'm trying to see.
Well, I'm not objecting to what he was saying. I'm objecting to the point.
Looking for complete clarity here, or you just looking to be?
No, he said he wanted to.
The side of your stance.
No, he said that he wanted to make a definition, and so what I'm saying is that there could not be a definition made in that exchange that they were having, because only Suave can say what is applicable in his home.
Nah, I'm just on my one regular. I mean, my bad. My bad. I'm just on my one regular phone, man. Enjoy, man. Hey, gotta use the Apple game.
Look, this is the only point I'm making. This is the only point I'm making. I'm gonna fall back. All right. Once we start moving into really getting serious about morality, either we are defining laws or we are not. And if we are not, then we pose the risk for chaos. Right? And that is a major concern, right? We can go into analogies about the cliffs and people's houses and this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, either we are defining true morality and we have a plumb line that we use, or a measuring stick, or a canon, or whatever word you want to use. We have something that we measure what morality is, or we don't. And if you're telling us that we don't have the need to define morality, that we just wake up and all of a sudden we understand what morality is, now we got to start talking about nature versus nurture, environment, because we live in a very wicked world.
That's so much lower than the point. The point is that every point.
And Suave actually made that. And Suave actually made the best point. But Suave, I think you were missing, brother, is what we bringing. See, you made the perfect point with that Apple analogy, bro. But the thing what you leaving out is, at what point, that's why I asked you that question. At what point do we constitute this? That everyone is only
take one apple.
One
Yeah.
apple per household or one apple per person. So that when those who violate that, we can punish them according to a system.
Okay. This how it is, bro.
Otherwise, we just going on as we go.
I got you.
That's all I'm saying, big bro.
Okay, this the whole thing. The whole view is skewed. Okay. My whole analogy about jumping off a cliff is if you jump off the cliff, you die. There was no parachutes, there was no plane. It was a cliff that if you jumped off, you died. When somebody personally interjects any type of variable of their own, they're changing it. That shouldn't be what existed. That's not how we can. That's what happens. That's what happens. I have to take the world is full of variables, bro.
No,
Okay.
come on, man. Come on.
And the brother defender, all he asked was, how high is the cliff? He just simply asked, how high is this cliff?
And that's why I said, does that even matter? I mean, it's a cliff.
Okay, but this my thing. This my thing, Swab. If it's good for the gander, it's good for the goose, man. I'm a country boy, man. I'm a country boy, Swab. If it's good for you to do, it's good for him to do.
But come on, we asking questions that are supposed to progress the conversation.
I asked you about that same topic. I mean, that same concept of how do you go about governing your household? Yeah, sister, you're right. There is a personal going on, but nevertheless, we're on this is the topic we're on. So, do you govern your household according to a set of rules or guidelines or laws? And the answer would be yes, but you avoided it. You avoided that simple answer by saying, well, I would have to go and then find out, am I smoking in front of the swab? You know, I listen to you, bro. I listen to everything. I always tell you what you said verbatim. Was I smoking? Do I punish him for smoking? Because he seen this? No, but come on, nah.
Any more legit. Your point is not legit, and the fact that you remember the conversation is not legitimize your point. This is what I'm saying. When we're talking about laws, first off, I'm telling you. Okay, I'll shut up.
I got an echo.
Okay.
Why you stop talking?
Because I think you came on to tell him that he had to mute or something, and I didn't know if he was trying to say something. Okay, so this is yeah, I got it, guy. So this is what I'm gonna say. The laws that I'm trying to put in perspective for you, we're not talking about them. We're not talking about them. When you're talking about how do you govern your house, where did the house come from? So obviously the problem started way before you.
See, you're doing it again. You see what I'm saying? You're doing it again.
Okay,
see, you will accuse everybody on this panel of moving the goalpost, right? When you ask
I'm
questions.
not moving the goalpost.
Literally do it every question.
Listen. When I said if a man fall off a cliff, he died. There was no goalpost to move. There was no reason to interject. Parachutes and planes. When you say, how do I punish my child with something, there are present variables there. I did not add them. That's not me moving the goalpost, and you shouldn't define it as that. I'm telling you that there are more things that you have to consider other than furniture. That's nothing to consider if he falls off the cliff. Or did he fall off 100 feet down flat? Was he rich? Was he poor? Is he a Muslim? None of that matters. So that's a wrong analogy. So what I'm telling you is this. Laws are things that you cannot change. You cannot change how you breathe. That's the law. How you conceive. That's the law. How you born. How you die. All these other things are privileges.
Those are natural laws.
That's what we're talking about.
And they're in their 30s.
We're talking about natural laws.
Do they burst in the flames? Do they head blow up? No. So you're not even in the realm of the creator anymore. You're in your own realm of because the creator gave the girl a baby at 13. So that means at 13 she's ready to have babies. That's not comfortable to you, so you make your own preferable law.
You gotta echo.
That's not a law because I have sisters and some of them come on sooner than that, some of them come on later than that. But we ain't finna get into all that. I ain't come here to talk about puberty. Listen, Swab. I'm just simply saying to you, big brother, from your little brother, what I'm hearing is you are not answering these questions directly. Just answer the question. Do you govern your household? Do you have rules and regulations inside your home? And if your children violate those rules and regulations, is there a punishment system? Is there a disciplinary action?
All right. Albert, I need you to for whatever reason, though, you got the echo.
It's an echo real bad.
Yeah, it's on album. So whenever we interact with album, I'm gonna need y'all to really go one person at a time.
Absolutely, I can understand.
This is the right. This is the only point that I hope this conversation can go to, where we just might change the topic, right? We need to really start to make hard definitions. I know people reject definitions, or we reject being put in a box or anything like that. I'm not trying to do that. But what we see happening is, if we don't put parameters on it,
I got you.
one person is mad. Right. So
I got you.
The reason, so what I would like to see happen, is to really get a true definition of what we consider to be
the laws,
like the laws of the Creator, right?
Okay.
Specifically, right? Because that's what this is. That's what this underlying conversation has turned.
That's it.
And I'm glad it went there, because this is really African spirituality in the Bible. If we really want to get at it, right? How do we define the Creator's laws?
Okay.
That's ultimately what all of us are trying to do. So,
may I?
Go ahead, Sis Reese. Then I want to hear from either Yara or DJ Black Charm, even Mo, because everybody has we all been kind of interacting. So, but yeah, go ahead, Sis, and then let's hear some people. Let's really try to define, not argue the other person's point. Just really quick, just define. And we can do this really quick. Just define the laws of the Creator.
I just pulled this up real quickly. It's the natural. Somebody yelled out, we're talking about natural. He said, those are natural laws. And those are the laws that we're talking about. I'm going to read them to you. You can read about this in the Kabbalion. And I think I have that book available for download if you want to get it for free. But usually when you find the universal natural laws written out, some people describe them in different ways, and that's normal, but they refer all to the same universal law and concept. So the first universal law, the law of divine oneness. Everything is connected to everything else. What we think, say, do, and believe will have a corresponding effect on others and the universe around us. That's a universal law. The second one, the law of vibration. Everything in the universe moves, vibrates, and travels in circular patterns. The same principles of vibration in the physical world apply to our thoughts, feelings, desires, and wills in the etheric world. Each sound, everything, and even thought has its own vibrational frequency unique to itself. The third law, the law of action. It must be employed in order for us to manifest things on this earth. We all know that to be true. We must engage in actions that support our thoughts, our dreams, emotions, and our words. That's the law of action. The fourth one, the law of correspondence. The universal law states that the principles or laws of physics that explain the physical world of energy, light, vibration, and motion have their corresponding principles in the etheric or universe, as above, so below. That's in the Bible. The law of cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance or outside of the universal laws. This is what Suave was talking about. Every action, including thought, has a reaction or consequence. Everybody just talked about that on the other side of this debate. We reap what we sow. This is in our DNA. We already know all this, which is the reason why we don't need a book to tell us this stuff. The law of compensation, the universal law. I'm not reading a book. I'm not reading a book.
Who we talking to,
You're asking for definitions, so I'm reading them aloud.
Let's get back on track.
The law of compensation. The law of compensation. The universal law is the law of cause and effect applied to the blessings and abundance that are provided for us. The visible effects of our deeds are given to us in gifts, money, inheritances, friendships, and blessings. Law of attraction. demonstrates how we create the things, events, and people that come into our lives. Our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions produce energies, which in turn attract like energies. Negative energies attract negative energies, and positive attract positive. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy. I don't even have to read it to tell you this one, because we know that energy does not die. It only transforms its shape and its form. So that's in short what that law is about. The law of relativity is one that I already explained in this discussion. Each person will receive as series of problems, tests of initiation or lessons throughout their lifespan for the purpose of strengthening the light which within each of these tests or lessons to be a challenge and remain connected to our hearts. This to me is a little overly explaining, but this law also teaches us to compare our problems to other problems, and to its proper perspective. No matter how bad we perceive our situation to be, there's always someone who is in a worse position. It's all relative. This is the point that we were making. The law of polarity. Everything is on a continuum and has a opposite. That's why I said that the Bible has its duality, in that it does contradict itself, and you can find scripture after scripture that contradicts itself from the Bible. The Bible. I'm still reading. I'm just gonna read. I'm gonna read them until I'm done. Come on, then. If you don't want to be a part of the conversation, then drop out.
No, it's not. I have a question.
Y'all the one who asked for the definition, so here they are.
I'm asking you a question about what you're trying to read to us, because what you have read to us is contradictory. Your first two laws contradict one another.
Okay.
Your first law said that your first.
Knock it out after she's finished. And sis, is it a lot more?
No, it's only two more.
All right, so go ahead, sis.
I have a far down.
We're gonna let Mo come in next. All right, so come on, sis.
I was interrupted on the law of polarity, but I'll skip ahead. The law of
polarity. You can finish, sis. Go ahead.
The law of polarity. Everything is on a continuum and has an opposite. We can suppress and transform undesirable thoughts by concentrating on the opposite pole. It is the law of mental vibrations. The law of rhythm. Everything vibrates and moves to certain rhythms. These rhythms establish seasons, cycles, stages of development like birth, decay, and death, and patterns. Each cycle reflects the regularity of God's universe. Masters know how to rise above negative parts of a cycle by never getting excited or allowing negative things to penetrate their consciousness. The law of gender, which is the last one, is the law of gender manifests in all things as masculine and feminine. It is this law that governs what we know as creation. Everything that is created has a masculine and feminine energy to it, because that's the law, requirement of the universe. The law of gender manifests in the animal kingdom as sex. This law decrees everything in nature is both male and female. Both are required for the life to exist.
And where'd you get that from, sis?
I just Googled it. Because like I said, everybody writes their own interpretation.
With the laws of the Bible.
Let's let Mo go, and then we're gonna let Black, because I really want to hear from Black. Yeah, you can come in after. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the first two laws, they contradict one another. First, you tell us this or whatever you're reading from tells us that we are all united in one. But the very next law tells you that you have your own unique frequency. If we're all the same, we would all have the same frequency.
False.
That's okay. You say it's false, but then you go on to read about negative energies, but it doesn't define what a negative energy is. Energy is energy. An oscillation is an oscillation. When we're talking about the metaphysical form of the energy, when we're talking about the ability to do work, oscillate, energy can show itself as something that is physical, let's say a photon, and it can also show itself as something that's non-physical, like a wave. So this whole idea that all things, therefore, are going to be made on the same wavelength is just not true. And the fact that you recognize that there are different wavelengths.
I never made that claim.
What you read to us made that
No,
claim.
it didn't.
So
it never said that everything operates on the same wavelength. That never was stated.
Read the first law. Read the first law to us one more time.
Comes from one
everything is connected to everything else. What we think
exactly
connected to something doesn't mean that you are the same as what you're connected to.
What do you mean? If you are connected to it, obviously you have to have a connection to it, meaning that
What does
you
that
are
mean?
similar to one another. So if yes, the whole point of
No.
a connection is showing the whole word connect is implying two things come together. Connection.
Does that mean they have to be the same just because they came together?
Yes, they do, because if
No, they don't.
If they're not the same, they cannot connect. What do you mean?
Who told you that?
The same reason why when I connect my plug, it has to fit into something that has two prongs. I can't plug my plug into a sink. I can't plug my plug into the dirt. It has something that has supposed to be connected.
You are right. That was not a contradiction, and what you just said didn't make no sense.
Hold on. You're saying it doesn't make sense, and I'm showing that what you read to us was just pure garbage. All it tells us is that you're saying that we have these so-called universal law. We have this one universe, and all things are. Even the idea that all things are made male and female. No, they're not. A rock does not have a male energy, and it does not have a female energy.
And you know that how? And you know that
A
how?
mountain does not have a male energy.
And how do you know that?
Have a female energy. Because it's a rock. Rocks are inanimate objects. They're part of our DNA.
Oh, see, you don't know science. You don't know science.
I'm made of the minerals of this earth, but I am not a rock, okay? So this idea...
You don't know science.
And this idea that somehow we're supposed to vibe on the same frequency.
DJ Black, brother, do you know what a rock is made out of?
Right.
I know a rock. A rock is made out of minerals, okay? That's the reason why when you eat food, when you eat food, Swab.
That's why the conversation not progressing. Because we treat each other like we don't understand what we're saying.
Right.
Swab. Well, you questioned me. You questioned me like I didn't know what a rock is.
And I listen,
Hold on.
I'm telling you, bro. Listen. I said, do you know what a rock was made of? You said minerals. Now, you don't have to explain. We both know what minerals is.
No. I'm trying to make an example. I'm trying to make an example.
The example is not me. That's you explain.
No, I'm showing you that we are made, both men and women are made from minerals. That's why when you eat food, part of your what we call micronutrients is vitamins and minerals, meaning that you need it on a small scale. Both men and women need it. So when I eat these minerals, I do not say I'm eating a female mineral or I'm eating a male mineral. They're just part of this earth. And this idea that somehow we have one universal consciousness or that we all come from the same thing, it doesn't make sense because we all...
The Bible tells you that.
That's what I was trying to say. You guys tried to convince us of a universal consciousness. I know it's funny because I'm sitting here laughing as you tell us this.
Wow.
And you tell us that we all have this universal consciousness, but you already recognize that there are people who have negative vibrations or they have
negativity is a part of this universe.
Exactly. So negativity, if it's part of the universe, what is to say that negativity is bad? It's part of the universe.
That's the part. That's where relativity comes in.
So exactly. So if we're going to say, again, back to the whole point that we've been trying to establish is that if we're going to say that goodness or any of these ideas are based on relativity, then we cannot look at the next man's relative view and say that they are wrong. We can't even say that they are
precisely.
We can't say, hold on.
You finally got it.
Hold on. We can't say that they are good. We can't say that they are bad. But that does not negate responsibility. If you go and do something that is good for you, let's say kill your neighbor's brother because it was good for you, that does not negate your responsibility of that death. Meaning that if you're in a society that does not agree with that society will come after you, not to include that the person's brother will probably come after you.
Are we talking about responsibility or are we talking about law?
And that's not a law.
Are we talking about responsibility or law?
Law implies responsibility.
We're not talking about implications.
No, you can't separate law and responsibility. The fact is,
yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because everybody who tries, who has laws created in their personal lives, they're not responsible.
We agree. We'll let you ask him and then let him answer, and then you come back, okay?
You cannot separate law and responsibility because the law is the acknowledgement of a responsibility to that law. So if I choose not to follow that law, which is my choice to do, it does not negate my responsibility to that law. Just because I don't want to acknowledge it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me. You can go ahead and text all you want while you drive. That's fine. But the moment you affect somebody, know that there will be a consequence. Now, you can say that there isn't, but when you're standing in front of a judge, the judge will remind you, yes, I do have this power, and yes, I will judge you. You will pay the consequences for it, even though you choose not to acknowledge it.
God.
Okay. Go ahead.
We still.
It's just a simple question, man. Is the judge God?
Can the judge
Okay.
impose?
Black Charm, go ahead, brother.
Can a judge impose a death sentence on you?
Go ahead, DJ Black Charm.
I'm asking you a question now, Swab.
You haven't.
Can a judge impose? Can a judge impose a death sentence on you?
Yes. Now, can you answer my question?
All right.
Is the judge God?
Nope, not God.
So is that a universal consequence?
Is it a universal consequence? No, we're talking about a law relative.
Is that a universal consequence?
If you're talking about a man judge,
okay,
I'm answering you. I'm about to answer you. If you're talking about
it's
a
a yes or
man's
no.
law,
It's a yes or no.
no, it's not a yes or no. If you're talking about a man's law, then no, it's not universal because not the whole world has the United States Constitution. But if we're talking about God's law, then yes, God will judge you just because you
calling these man laws God law. That's the whole.
All right, let's I'm gonna give someone else a chance to jump in real quick. DJ Black Charm, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting that everybody kind of saying the same thing. You know,
and swing on somebody.
Yeah. So what you have is you have laws in the Bible that's inspired. That we feel that's inspired by God, but it was written by men. That's obvious. You know what I'm saying? A man had to write that stuff. But then, as a sister reads, you know what I'm saying? She pulls definition from Google. So apparently somebody wrote those, typed them, what have you, for 2019. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, everything has a govern. You know what I'm saying? From water to sun to empathy, sympathy, neglect. Everything has a govern. You know what I'm saying? Has to be a govern. Some things that don't have an off switch, some things that can't be governed still have to be written down. That, you know what I'm saying? Like even with fire, you know what I'm saying? Fire has a law. You know what I'm saying? And how to engage it. You know what I'm saying? Just as well as people have laws on how to engage them. So, you know, like a lot of how we have to identify those laws in the Bible to say some of them are innate, but then some of them are not innate. You know what I'm saying? And to say that if a person breach another person's property, you know what I'm saying? Some folk feel like it's all good. The world is ours. Everybody's supposed to be able to go everywhere. But that's not true when you got somebody got his own bedroom, his own bed, his own wife. You cannot share that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have a law in place for certain things to be breached. Now, but that's how I feel about that. Now, as far as the spiritual part, you're talking about.
I'm about to come from up out of this thing.
You know what I'm saying? So 54 countries has to disagree, go against Abrahamic faith to say African spirituality as opposed to the Bible. So you have to be able to identify all 54 countries going against the Bible. Now, hence you can say this. Let's take it up a notch and say half of them was colonized and they Christian and Muslim. So that's 27 right there. But you have to still say the other 27 as opposed to Abrahamic faith. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, like they go against Abrahamic faith. Because how it seems that when people say it, that you have African spirituality, then you have the Bible. As opposed to some folks saying you got African spirituality. People who practice African spirituality have a lot of similarities that's in the Bible, or vice versa. But to say that they're different, you have to be able to show that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's more like a blanket statement. And a lot of times when people say that, you got African spirituality and you got the Bible, and then we get into Jesus ain't real. After that, you know what I'm saying? That's gonna be the next part once you start to corner people into the corner, and when you start to back them in the corner and saying, explain these 54 countries. 54 countries got to be opposed to monotheism. You know, you have to be able to say that they all polytheistic societies, and we know that's not to be true. Because why? Because they got a king. So that one king is that one Godhead. You know, so that's monotheistic in itself. But I ain't gonna go on too ranting too much about it, you know. But I still want somebody to show me a comparison, the difference between African spirituality and opposed to the biblical spirituality, as if it's not both trying to have a better society.
Can I comment on that real quick, real short? And I just want to say a shout out to Yashar on that dad gang too. That deserves to be praised and honored. But I say this: the Bible, as we see it, the King James Version, because remember that was great. You know, the great Bible, the Geneva Bible, the Queen's Bible, the Tinsdale. But the Bible, as it was compiled, is to some people a ripoff of African spirituality, a mistranslation, a miscompilement, or a translation of what is African spirituality. These events happened in Africa. These people are of African background. Like the cities that these places come from, where Abraham was born. Where Abraham was born was the sub-colony of Egypt.
So because somebody changed the faith, do the principles change?
The principles, no, the principles don't change, but this is the problem. The Creator's laws are the laws that we cannot change, no matter what we want. The white people are not in agreement with their universal laws that they must follow because they have a different set of laws. Because, see, we get to play in the sun and get fruit from the trees and swim in the water. Well, the sun hurts them and the foods give them diseases and the water attacks them because it's full of sunlight. We are sun beings. So they manufactured a set of laws within the Creator's laws and then fed them to us. And that's where we picked up our ball and started running.
Can you give me an example of what law was manufactured in?
Okay. The fact that God has been turned into a man instead of the Son, which is the representation of the Creator, a testimony of its
Who
power.
said the Son was God, though? That's
No. I said the Son, which is a representation of God, which is a testimony of its power, of what it can create.
Right. Now, and then you said a European interpretation of God as well.
Yeah, in Africa, we gave praise to the sun because without the sun, the food wouldn't grow.
Back up. Hold up. You saying that the sun is the African's interpretation of God. And you saying that a man's interpretation of the white person's interpretation of God.
No. I said the sun is a testimony of God, of the Creator's power. That's what I said. And
no, back all the way up. Who else heard what he said? Who else heard what he said? Did you hear what he said?
Everybody heard what
I said.
He said that's the only thing I'm stuck on.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm stuck on. Okay, let me say what I said again. I said in average spiritual times, we praise the sun because the sun is the representation of God. Is it the testimony of its power? It's not the Creator. It does not.
I'm talking about go back to the European part, bro. Not just
I have to go forward to that. That was my second statement. I said the first statement I said before that. Is that the Bible can be taken as a mistranslation or misconception or a translation in righteousness of African spirituality. You say, give you an example. And I'm saying in African spiritual times, we praise the sun. We gave veneration to the sun because of the power that the Creator gave it.
Saying Africa, you got to say 54 countries did this now.
Okay. I'm saying Africa. All throughout Africa, you can see the worship of the sun, the praising of the sun being the mark of signifying something great everywhere. You can see that all over.
Show you if somebody could show you that they a deity being a goat head or a deity being something else besides the sun, what do you say then?
That's why you have to listen to what I'm saying in its entirety, because that covers all of that. Once people chose to put a man or a lamb in front of the sun, and then eventually remove the sun, just leaving the man or the lamb. Now you're looking at the man and the lamb as a representation of the Creator, which is not what Africans did. So that right there is an example of the mistranslation.
But I'm saying, when you say Africans, you're saying all Africans have sun worship, and that's not true. That's not true nowhere that all Africans have sun worship. That sun worship should come from northern Egypt, from
The sun
certain
worship
kingdoms.
comes from
The
all
sun
over the
worship
earth.
didn't come from the guy who started the sun worship. He looked at a mountain, how that sun come through every day on the dial tone. That's what it made. That's what it get the Hyman Roscoe. I can show it to you.
Sun worship was established all over the earth by the people that you call Africans. Okay? Just because it's outside of the
I'll show you what I'm talking about. You got to show me what you.
I don't think you're okay. Okay, and then I'll shut up because obviously I'm just not understanding what you're saying.
What I'm saying is when you go to some parts of Africa, you have this elephant, which is the big marquee of African spirituality. And then you got the lion. You know what I'm saying? You got all these stuff.
Now let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Black Charm. Let me ask you this.
And this is going to be
being worshipped. Is the sun being worshipped a part of African spirituality?
Say it again. I can hear you.
Is sun worship part of African spirituality?
It's part of some parts of Africa.
Is sun worship part of African spirituality?
No, I'm not gonna say that. No, it's not.
Oh, sun worship is not part of African.
No, it's not, because you're trying to make Africa one. You're trying to make Africa a conglomerate, and it's not. It's not.
I got you, bro. I got you, because y'all can't keep doing that to me. Now, anybody else agrees on this panel that sun worship is not part of African spirituality?
There were some parts that worshipped the sun, but
does anybody agree,
bro? You asking a blanket question, Swab. That's not fair.
How? When it
listen, because you got 54 countries.
Hold on, everybody
no,
stop.
Y'all have to stop. You can't keep stopping me because y'all contention of wins what I'm saying. I'm understanding what y'all saying.
Swab, you're not listening. Hold on, bro. I'm not in contention with you. I'm just saying you can't force them to answer the way you want them to answer. What they've told you is
force them to answer the question and then explain to me what they feel in their heart. All I asked was a definite question.
They both said no. Bro, listen, you're not calm down, please, bro. They both said no, it's not a part of African spirituality as a whole. And then they were explaining.
Brother, why do that to me, Anonymous?
Bro, I'm not doing nothing, bro.
No.
Bro, I'm not doing nothing to you, bro. I'm explaining to you what they said.
Who said anything as a whole? I'm talking to this grown man.
Hold on. Listen, when you say is something a part of African spirituality?
If the tire a part of the car, then I mean is the tire the whole car?
Bro, are you gonna calm down and let me explain?
The tire part of the car. No, the tire part of the car is not it. You saying
it's not the same type of analogy.
If the tire is the dealership, no, it's not.
Let's go back to the original one. It's sun worship.
Right. So the point that they were making, was that no, sun worship is not a part of African spirituality as a whole, and they explained that. And so the answer to that would be no.
And I agree with y'all. Now, can we be grown? I said,
well, I don't think it's fair to say that we're not being grown.
Because when I ask to grown people, is sun worship a part of African spirituality? And within a second, I get, no, sun worship is not part of African spirituality as a whole. Then right now,
I said no. I didn't say as a whole. I just said no. Period. I put it all the way out there.
Sun worship is not a part of African spirituality.
Right. Because Because you saying Africa is one. You making Africa one thing.
Progress, man. We have to progress, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You gotta progress it. You gotta progress in understanding.
Bro, you're not
progressing in understanding that it's not that you got 54 countries. You missing the whole 54.
What it needs
54. You missing 54.
I'm saying. You will agree with me, Black Charm. That's why you adding all these other.
No, I'm saying it's 54 countries, bro. That's what I'm saying. And I said you can even say 27 of them was Muslim or Christian. That's what I said. Then the other 27, you got to be able to break down with all that all of them are against an Abrahamic faith or Abrahamic system. And you said that they all was sun worship. I'm like, no.
I'm asking you, that's not what I said, grown man. I said
yes, you did say they was all sun worship, bro. I heard it.
Is sun worship part of African spirituality? I cannot believe we're having this conversation.
You said they were sun worshiping all throughout Africa.
Yeah, that's what you said.
That's what you said, bro.
Sun worship was established all throughout the world by the people that you would call African. I did not say it was all over Africa. Listen to me.
Yes, you did, bro. You got to rewind that back. Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
What's
Yes,
the
you did, bro.
difference?
All right.
You
Hold
said
on.
that they
Wait,
established
time out.
something.
Everybody phone
I
off.
didn't hear him say that.
Y'all keep taking what I'm
Come on, man. Rewind the show back.
He didn't
Nani.
say that.
Y'all keep taking what I'm saying and expressing what you hear. Listen to what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Rewind the show. Rewind it back, Anonymous, and play it for him, man. Because he apparently he don't hear it. Rewind it back for him and play it for him.
I said, what I said at first, sun worship was established all over the globe.
Now you changing, you moving, you saying all over the globe now. At first you were saying it was all through Africa and the Europeans did something different. And the Europeans did something different. Now the Europeans worship the sun now. It was all over the globe. You moving
somehow I got kicked out of my own stream.
Now, anybody? Now, this is the first. Now, is that the first time I just interjected that? Is this? Did I not say that sun worship was established all across the world by people that came from Africa?
No, you ain't say that, bro. You said sun worship was worship. You said the sun representation was all throughout Africa and the Europeans did something totally different.
I need both of y'all.
I'm gonna mute my mic.
Calm down.
Can somebody tell me that's not what Suave said?
I did not hear him say that.
Sister Reese had already.
You listen to everything.
Well, you can rewind it. Anonymous can rewind it back. He can rewind it back. He got that power to the show to rewind it back.
We got people that do this listening.
I will literally mute grown men, bro. Relax.
He said that though. He
Bro,
definitely said it was across the world.
relax so I can clear it up. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. All right. So here's the point. Here's the overall point. All right. Are we confining certain practices to certain parts of Africa, or are we saying as a whole, if something happens in Africa, that it is a part of African spirituality? Is that your point, Suave? Yes or no?
Man, I ain't even concerned with this conversation anymore.
Bro, it is very important. So if
Can I answer?
Yeah, okay. So Sister Reese. So just real quick, and this will bring light to the conversation, and it will end all of the silliness, right? If something happens in Africa, just on the continent of Africa, period, is it a part of African spirituality? Can you just give me a simple yes or no, and then break that down, please?
I don't think it's fair to ask me to give you a simple yes or no, because it's not a simple yes or no question. To answer that, it requires explanation, and it deserves explanation. So what African spirituality is about, first of all, you have to think about evolution. When we first started on this planet, we were a very small group of people, all melanated. Then we began to acquire knowledge as man continued to evolve. We spread out among the land, and then we began to write things down using hieroglyphs and different methods of writing things down and keeping records of information. This is just the natural evolution of man. This is how knowledge started to get disseminated and traded whenever cultures would meet each other. And spirituality is no different than that. There was no set definition of what African spirituality was back then, because they were creating it as they lived, as they, experienced the spirit itself. It was an intuitive experience, and they just simply wrote it down so that other people could learn from it. Okay.
But that's the same thing with the Bible. If you saying it, everything you
Yeah.
just said crossed you all the way up, you just dumped yourself in the toilet.
Well, wait a minute. Just hold on. Wait a minute.
Everything you just said.
Yeah, you gotta chill. You gotta chill with all of that. You gotta chill with all of that, because nothing I said.
I'm trying to look. Hold up. Look, let me say this. Let me say this to the entire panel real quick, bro. All right. Everybody got different opinions, man. All right. Everybody can voice their opinion. And if you disagree with their opinion, you can tell them why. You can't force nobody to agree with nobody else's opinion. And I'm seeing a little bit of that, right? It's cool to disagree, bro. But let everybody bring out their opinion, and then just come back with the facts to either refute it or just say, I disagree with it, and continue to move away from it. So, I just want to put a period on one little point, all right? There are some that believe that sun worship was a part of African spirituality. There are some that don't believe that it was a part of African spirituality in terms of the complete continent of Africa. That's why I was trying to get some clarification of, are we talking about the entire continent of Africa, or are we just talking about certain parts of Africa that were into sun worship?
Well,
Now, if we're not
again,
going to answer to that, we're not going to answer to that. Hold on.
you'll get an answer to it if you allow the answer to come out. Every time y'all ask a question, then you want to jump in and start jumping all over the answer. That don't even make sense.
And this is what I'm saying. The question was this.
I go back on.
Can I finish answering?
Bruh, are y'all serious right now?
I thought you just asked.
Hey, look, man. I did. And I'm trying to.
Okay, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and say good night, because if I'm in the middle of saying something and then y'all just jumping all out of there, I've been on here for over 3 hours with y'all, and I got other things to do.
Sister Reese, I'm actually trying to let you finish. So that's why I'm saying, are y'all serious right now? Let the sister finish. I've been saying the same thing consistently the entire time.
I understand that, but I'm talking about the fact that every time I open my mouth, there's a chorus that comes behind it.
And I got you, sis, and I got you, right? Look, brothers, and whoever, right? Let each person finish their thought, and then y'all come in. That's what I'm asking y'all, all right?
Okay,
go ahead and finish, sis.
Thank you. Like I was saying, the people who lived on the planet were not reading from any books, like he said before, and I keep saying it because it's the overarching truth. These books that were written way back then came out of people's personal intuitive experiences with the spirit. And you're right, the Bible was created that way, and that is what I said in the very beginning, which is no contradiction to what I'm saying right now. Everything that was written down came from someone else's intuitive experience of a spiritual event. They wrote it into words so that it could be interpreted and understood, hopefully, by the people who read it. And they would not assume that it would be taken out of context. But because of social conditioning, it has been taken out of context. And now we want to know, okay, well, who wrote this and who wrote that and who did this? Because we can't confirm where the accounts came from. But African spirituality, which is what's really important, it came from these people's DNA, their personal experiences with the universe, with their environment. They're walking around, they throw an apple up in the air and they notice that it falls back down. There's no place on the planet where they can go where they could toss an apple in the air and it don't fall back down. So they count that as a universal natural law. These are the things they begin to write. They go around the planet teaching people that they come in contact with. They happen to come across some Europeans at some point in the evolution of man. And then these Europeans take everything that they taught, that they learned about the natural universe now. And somebody else yelled that out. And I said this before. You said, oh, y'all talk about natural laws. Because natural laws are universal laws. They are scientific in nature. And everywhere you go, like Suave said, you cannot live outside of the scientific nature of this universe. And they are natural laws that govern the spirit, like this thing is talking about, like the law of attraction. That is a very scientific law that can be verified and measured, like Mo was talking about. That is measurable. You can get scientific tools that show you how the heart creates a electromagnetic field around the person's body, or other people might call it an auric field. These things can be measured, and they are highly spiritual functions that we come with as human beings. And so this is what we have to start learning about our religious practice, because in truth, what a religious practice is how you religiously live your life. It doesn't have anything to do with what somebody else wrote down on a piece of paper about how they live their life intuitively. You create your religion when you create your religious practices every single day in and day out. There are things that you do and there are things that you don't do religiously. And that is what your religion is, because obviously that's what you believe is good for you. And that's where relativity comes in. Because if you're doing what is good for you, You don't have the right to go and tell anybody else that they need to change what they're doing for the good of themselves. But what people will start to recognize is once you drop your egotistical ideas about what law is and what law is for, that it's there to control what somebody else is doing. Once the masses of people get to a point where we all understand the law is only there to control what I am doing. Only thing that I can do is control what I am doing. And if I'm a part of society that says killing, having sex with children, taking too much from the land, doing all these things, if I'm in a social environment that tells me that that's wrong, then I might want to adopt that as a part of my religious practice, because I know that socially I must get along with the people around me in my environment. So spiritually, by nature, I want to do what's right. By nature, I don't need anybody else to tell me to live in harmony with everybody else. Sure.
So is your complaint only with the Bible, or is it with any text that we see?
I don't have any issues.
Texas? Okay, well, should I say? Well, it seems like you feel like there are some issues with the Bible. Is that fair to say?
What I have an issue is what I have an issue with is the fact that we are not able to put the Bible in its proper context as a literary text or a literary work of art. I don't have any issues with the literary work of art itself.
Okay, so just then getting back to my overall question, right? Do you have these same types of issues with maybe pyramid text or with the Epic of Gilgamesh? I don't know, just different writings of antiquity. Do you have any issues with those, or is it only with the Bible?
I wouldn't have a reason to have the message that I have about the Bible about other literary works of art, because the Bible is the only one, when it's being taken out of context, it's moving the whole entire evolution of man. Other literary works of art are not that powerful in a social environment. So it would be stupid, honestly, for me to have that kind of issue with other literary works of art.
Can I respond to what the sister was saying about the natural laws? Because what I think is happening is I think you're conflating the idea of law and morality. You keep treating law as if it's something, because we can observe it, it's something that's observable, that it therefore affects all other things. And this is just not true. So you use the example
How is that not true?
Using the example of throwing an apple into the air and then watching it fall back down. This is natural law. This is what we call gravity. This is one of the forces that helps keep the universe running. It's what God has established within this universe that we're in. So this idea that somehow because an apple is falling, therefore affects how I treat somebody morally, it's a non sequitur. If we're going to say that because I can observe something in this universe, like an apple falling from a tree, is then going to affect how I treat somebody, whether I show charity to somebody. Again, we're talking about morality. The Bible is
the law of attraction is a better example.
Hold on. The law, there is no such thing as a law of attraction. This whole idea. Okay. You can sit there and you can laugh all you want to, but allow me to finish my point.
You can disagree, but just let him finish.
I didn't say anything.
The idea of law of attraction, unless you're going to say it's gravity, which means that matter then draws itself. Once something is massive,
I'm not going to say that.
Okay. Hold on, allow me to finish my point.
Well, you're saying if you're going to say, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to say that because that's not logical.
The law of attraction is a made-up law of people who try to play within the ether or the metaphysical realms. This is not something that we can test physically unless you're going to say gravity. Gravity is the only thing that attracts other objects to itself due to mass and size. Nothing else attracts each other unless you're going to say it's magnetism. Magnetism is a force that we can measure. Gravity is a force that we can measure. Law of attraction is not a scientific term. You will never see it in a scientific book. These are what pseudo scholars or pseudo metaphysicists try to use in their explanation of the ether around us. There is no law of attraction. If you can show me a law of attraction in a science book, I will shut my mouth, but you will never show it, and because it doesn't exist. All of these terms that you're trying to throw out into the world, again, are just pseudo metaphysics. Now, if we're going to talk about actual natural law, like gravity,
magnetism, the nuclear forces. We're talking about things that we can measure scientifically. You can't measure a good deed scientifically because we're talking about morality. We're talking about the metaphysical realm that cannot be touched. You can't measure goodness with the yardstick.
Where are you getting this from? Where are you getting this from? Why are you making these empirical? You're making these empirical statements, and you can measure those things. I'm asking, where are you getting those from?
Show me how you measure the law of attraction, please.
If you punch somebody in the face, are they gonna punch you back?
Show me a science.
If you punch somebody in the face, hey, if you punch somebody in the face, are they gonna punch you back?
It's a simple question.
I'm asking you a question. I'm giving you the answer.
You're not. No. I'm asking you a question. If you're going to say that we have the laws of attraction and it's part of natural law, which is actually scientific law, if you're going to make that statement, then show us a scientific book that says.
I don't need to show you a scientific book when you have common sense.
Hold up, Sister Reese. So what's your question? So I can give him a clear cut.
The law of attraction. If you go up to somebody and you punch them in the face, what do you think they're going to do?
What's the question, though, sis?
That is the question. If you go and punch someone in the face, what do you think they're going to do?
What do you mean? If somebody punches you in the face, I have a choice. I can turn the other cheek or I can strike them back. What does that have to do with the law of attraction?
Can I answer that, please?
Hold on, Swab.
Go ahead, Swab. No, go ahead, because I'm pretty sure.
I want you to answer.
I need y'all to finish our dialogue, then we'll let Swab jump.
The point that I'm making with the question.
You asked me a question. I responded to it. I said that I have a choice. I can turn the other cheek or I can respond back to them physically, meaning that there is no law that I have to follow. It's a choice that I can make in how I deal with the situation. So now I'm asking you the question. If somebody comes and punches you in your face, what does that have to do with the law of attraction?
I'm going to tell you. If I walk around and I live my life like that religiously, going around punching people in the face, again, I would assume at some point I would receive that same type of energy back in my life, because that's exactly what the law of attraction says. If you go around and you're putting out a particular type of energy, that's the energy you're going to get back. That you don't need a book to tell you that, because you have common sense, or maybe you don't.
No, man. No. All you've done to us is reply back what we've already known for a long time.
Yeah, because it's a universal law.
Where God teaches us, you reap what you sow. So you're not telling us nothing. Hold on.
Yeah.
That's not the law of attraction. The law of attraction has nothing to do with how you respond to another person's action. You're conflating natural science with morality. You need to learn how to separate the two so that way your arguments don't sound so fallacious. If you're going to say that we base our morality on the natural laws that we can test in science.
I never said that. Take your words out of my mouth. I never said that.
You said that an apple falling from the tree or seeing an apple fall is what guides people's morality to write the book.
I never said that.
Hold on.
I never said that.
You said that the books that we have, or the information that's been passed down from the ancients, was from people who experienced the world around them, such as somebody throwing an apple and watching it fall. You just made a comparison of natural law to morality. That's the reason.
I never made the comparison. I never made that comparison.
Hold on. When you said that how we guide ourselves today from the teachings from the ancients, you're saying that they wrote down what they observed in the world. Hence, you use the example of somebody saying that they seen themselves throwing up an apple.
An example, correct. But I never made that. I never made that comparison.
What does that have to do with teaching people morality?
First of all, I never made any claims about morality. I made an explanation about what universal law is by definition. I never inserted morality into the discussion. That was you. So if you want to have a discussion with yourself, you can have at it.
You are discussing morality because you're saying that the books like the Bible, which is passed down from the ancients, is teaching us about the natural world around us. When in fact, I'm telling you that the Bible teaches us morality. The Bible is teaching us how.
Exactly, which is the reason why I never said anything about morality, because I'm saying that we have morality for ourselves. So you want to take your words out of my mouth because I said that what we are doing is allowing ourselves to require someone else to morality. We don't need that. So I never made a comparison about morality. What I said is what I said. And what I said is that people don't need a book to teach us about morality. You take your words out of my mouth while you making these statements.
That's the foolishness that I'm telling you about. We do need somebody to teach us about morality, because if I go off of my own morality within myself, I can cross somebody. That's the
And you have your free will to do that. You have your free will to do that. Nobody can stop you from living however you want to live.
All right. I'm gonna let Swab go. Everybody say some closing statements. We're gonna get out of here. All right. Brother Swab, go ahead and chime in and say what you need to say.
Listen, man, I appreciate it. I'll just say this. My whole point that I was asked that led into this was when, man, I really believe we know this. I really believe what I'm saying and what the sister says is not that difficult to follow.
It's not.
It's just that when you get a chance to say, well, what you're saying is
Right.
like that's
You totally taken away from what I am saying.
This is the law. This is the law. Laws have universal consequences. Listen, please. Once you make a move that affects somebody else, that's the consequence. It doesn't have to be a sentence in jail or nothing like that. When I see Anonymous done wrong,
Simple.
I feel a certain way.
Simple.
Everybody does.
Simple.
Nobody sees anybody get treated wrong and don't know. Hey, let's do that feeling and say, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't feel like working this job to take away from my family, but I'm going to do it because these consequences are worth this benefit, this, that, and the other. That's just how it goes. Now, if somebody does something that we look at as like, no, that's a no. Then you act on that feeling of knowing it's a no, and you say, I don't want to be around that person. That right there is the law of attraction. You being greedy attracted the feeling that they got, like, I don't want to be around a person like that because he's greedy. Why would I want to hang with that? Now you got to tell me, why would you, after seeing this man pick 16 apples off, go home and eat and waste 14 months, why do you want to kick it with him? Why do you want to have a baby with him? Why do you want to train? That's what I'm saying. Like, that's just how simple it is. You say there's power in the tongue. You speak of death, death comes. Law of attraction. If I like music, I rap. Somebody else that like music, here I'm rapping, they come and start kicking with me over the rap. That's law of attraction. Science actually measuring morality. If you take too many apples off the tree, somebody go hungry. I can scientifically add up that with 32 apples, 14 people came and got one apple.
That's
right. Got 16. 6 people went hungry. I just proved to you through science that was immoral. I'm done, man. Black power, and I love y'all.
Thank you.
Somebody had to die in the process.
Thank you.
Did you know that somebody had to go hungry in the process for you to prove that?
Can I please have patience with me? No, Mo. Hold on, Mo. Please have patience with me with my brother Apple. What was your point? Because I didn't even say nobody died. But what was your point?
You literally did. You literally let somebody go hungry in the process.
Hold on, Swab. Hold on.
You literally just said this, Swab. You literally allowed someone to go hungry in the process to prove your theory.
I'm asking you. I literally just said somebody died.
You said they went hungry. I mean, my perception of going hungry is starvation. What's the result of starvation? Swab, what's the result of starvation, Swab? What's the result of starvation, Swab?
Man, I said if somebody didn't get this is great. Why are y'all interpreting so deeply? Listen to what I'm
because
saying.
I ain't heard. I'm interpreting on the same level it's being said. Listen, I'm not hearing nowhere where there is a law being implemented to stop
starvation,
excessive apple eating. So I'm saying, at what point does these people who are being left out, Swab, what point are they being justified? Or do they just keep going hungry because the 16 apple people keep getting 16 apples?
Because the compensation of that person taking 16 apples is that they have to walk now further to another apple that conveniences them to get more fruits.
So if
Wait.
Sorry, brother. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, you good, Mo. Say that again, Swag.
So now the compensation of this person taking 16 apples off one tree is that now somebody has to walk a further distance to find another tree with apples and bring that back to feed. It disconvenienced other people. I didn't say it murdered you.
Okay, I'm just gonna stay within your paradigm. So now, how do we go about implementing it?
When you see somebody,
What type of consensus do we have?
when you see somebody take 16 apples off a tree, and you see that 6 people didn't have an apple, do you know that's right or wrong? I just want to.
That's not what I asked. We're not. That's not what I asked.
That's the answer, though.
Simple question, big bro.
But that's the answer.
I am, man. I'm asking a simple question.
But that's
How
the
do we
answer.
go about implementing?
That's the answer. That is the answer. Harmony is the answer.
All I'm asking.
Harmony is the answer. That's what he's trying to say.
You a question to answer you, bro. I'm not answering you a question to move the goalpost to throw you off. I'm asking you, do you have the intelligence to know that when somebody takes 16 apples and 6 people don't have an apple?
Yes, I do, Swab. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So we can move forward. Yes.
Now I can answer your question. So the thing is, when we see somebody take 16 apples, we know that's wrong. Are you attracted to that person? Or are you unattracted to that person? Does that make you want to mate with that person? Does it make you want to trade with that person? Chill with that person?
It depends on what type of person I am, Swab, and what attracts me.
Now you just told
the law of attraction.
Some women like drug dealers.
And it's the law of attraction.
Hold on, Swab. Now, see, you just hold on. You stepped into another territory.
That's a law of attraction, though.
Let me step there with you right now. That's cool too, sis. But the brother was trying to make a totally different point with that statement, and this didn't help. So now, just because I, Abo, feel that it's wrong that this brother took 16 apples, guess what? Since Reese, hold on, let me finish, Swab. Since Reese might find that attractive, she might like. Look. I'm not look. You know I'm not no contentious person, bro. Come on, bro. You know I'm not contentious, bro. Let me finish just saying what I'm saying.
You're not talking to me about what we were talking about. How long am I supposed to let it go?
We talking about the same thing. Swab. We still talking about the same apples. I'm still asking you, when this person takes these 16 apples, I'm asking you, what system do you implement as a society to govern it? How do you go? See, I'm gonna say what you said. I don't think it's that hard. I don't think we're going over your head. I think you understand exactly what's being said, and I know you understand exactly what I'm asking.
But you do
right
too,
now,
Abo. He answered you.
You are intelligent here. I talk to you all the time, Swab. So I'm simply asking you, how do we govern it? How do we go about?
It's harmony. He answered.
A system that a person will
Suave.
stop doing it.
Suave, let me.
That's all my question was.
Suave, let me help. Suave, let me help. Let me help. Let me help.
This is what we're gonna do, because I do got to get out of here. We'll be going at this for a few hours. I do think we have brought up some very good points. I would love to have this conversation again, because this is not something that we're gonna solve in 4 hours. I just want to be realistic, right? I believe a lot of the issues have been put on the table. I believe we have definitely expressed ourselves. I know it gets heated and contentious, but I would like for us to end on a positive note in realizing that regardless of what the struggles are, we all love each other. We all are doing our best to try to figure this out, right? We are all doing our best to try to bring the knowledge that we have to each other, right? So in doing that, yes, the conversation gets contentious at times, right? It's just how it happens. We as a people have to perfect the ability to talk to each other, right? And as we have these conversations more and more, we will be able to do that. But at the end of the day, we still are our loved ones, right? We're not out here hating each other. So it got contentious. I knew it was gonna get contentious. We talked about it getting contentious, and but I think a lot of the points were brought out and were addressed. So with that said, we're gonna not talk about the topic anymore. All right, family. What we are gonna do is just go around the table really quick and let everybody say they closing. I love yous to each other, and let people know where to find you at, You can promote whatever it is that you need to promote. And we will definitely, this actually might be the conversation that we do next. Again, just so we can go ahead and try to get to the bottom of certain topics. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go from left to right of what I see on my screen. No particular order. Not trying to pick nobody out, single nobody out for nothing. All right. So, Brother Abo, you are the first to the furthest left on my screen. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and say your piece. Uh, give love to the family and let us know where we can find you and hear you at.
Appreciate that, big brother. Man, shout out to my big brother Swab Ball, man, at the Argument League. Y'all go follow my big brother ASAP. Man, peace to Sis Reese. This is my first time ever even meeting you, ma'am. You got a big brain, and I'd love to hear some more from you. I don't have no quarrel with nothing you all said. Like, I'm just totally just listening for absolute understanding, absolute clarification on both parts. I ain't have a lot of questions for the brothers, not because I'm being biased or because I stand where they stand. Now, they wasn't saying a lot of wrong. I didn't hear a lot of stuff that I disagree with. But on one end, the only thing I could openly agree with is that we do need to hear each other all the way out from now on. Now, we do not give each other a chance to express ourselves. Like, it's crazy. Like, as soon as there's a disagreement, everything go haywire. So yeah, let's just kind of just start giving each other a chance to say what we trying to say. And I guarantee you'll understand where that person coming from at the end of the day, if nothing else. Whether we agree or not, you at least know why that person believes what they believe, why it is they stand so firmly on what they stand on. That's the whole objective here with these open dialogues, to my understanding. So that being said, I don't do no promoting because I don't do no videos, none of that. Y'all can find me at the Bible. I'm in the Holy Bible, King James Version, preferably. A sinner trying to be a winner. That being said, man, elbow out. Salute, peace, and much love to the family always.
All right. Salute, Brother Elbow. Thanks for coming through. As always, it's always good to hear your voice. Good to build with you. Nothing but love here. All right. Next person up is Brother Mo. Brother Mo, go ahead and unmute yourself. Let us know where we can find you. Get your closing thoughts. Get some love. And, hopefully we can have you back on so we can finish this conversation. It's good to hear your perspective. Go ahead, bro.
Definitely, brother. I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody on the panel. I do recognize that these types of discussions definitely touch nerves of everybody. So I know we will definitely have strong reactions to it, but there definitely ain't no hate in my heart for any of y'all. I got nothing but love for y'all, and I appreciate being able to have an intellectual conversation with intellectuals. So yeah, it was a great discussion. I'm just looking forward to the next one. I got nothing but love for Big Brother Suave, Sister Reese. First time I ever got to be in a conversation with you. Big Brother Yashar, love him. Aboriginal, first time I ever had to have a discussion with you. Everybody on the panel, man, it's just all love either way, man. And yeah, man, I enjoyed it and look forward to the next one. I ain't got no channels or nothing like that, but as Brother Aboriginal said, I'm gonna be in the scriptures and I'm always gonna defend it. And yeah, I ain't gonna speak nothing else on that. I'm gonna leave it on a peaceful tip. So much love and peace to all y'all.
You muted if you're saying something, Anonymous.
Man, I'm sitting here talking, thinking I'm.
All right. What time it was?
You know me. All right. Thanks, Brother Mo. It's always great to build with you, bro. Definitely are invited. I'm going to get in touch with you when we get ready to have this conversation again. Sister Reese, it was obviously great to have you on the panel. Right?
Thank you.
I love the fire, love the energy. So let everybody know where they can find you. Let everybody know what it is that you were doing. Go ahead and say your closing arguments. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. So my social media is This Page Deep on Instagram. And I have a website, which is www.reeseroberts.com. So do reach out at least on Instagram. I mean, I'm on Facebook too, but Instagram is probably my most active platform. But what I do want to say to everybody is that I literally have made my life dedicated to reading and absorbing information from my environment, a lot like what our African ancestors did. And it is very important to always be open about what you believe, because you can know more so than believing. And that's just where I'm coming from with my message, is that, everything that we experience is our truth. And we have to know and, know how to operate on that. So that's what my website is about: consciousness, and really knowing how to know thyself and love thyself, as the good book instructs us to do. Science is a huge thing, and it's not to be praised or worshiped, but science is a tool that you need to know in order to have these kinds of discussions in truth and intelligence. So I encourage all listeners to do what you can to learn about science, learn about metaphysics, and learn about the energetic nature of your environment, because that is what governs you. And that is what causes you to pretty much operate the way you operate. So that's me. Y'all can learn more about all of that at my website, www.reeseroberts.com.
All right, thank you, Sister Reese. If y'all get a chance, check out that sister. Go support what she's doing. Brother Swab Boss.
You're Hey, shout out to Sal, shout out to Anonymous. I love you, brothers, and what y'all got going on here. So make sure y'all continuously forever support Debate Talk for you and anything that springs forth from it. Shout out to Abo Mo, the sis Renee, and Yashar, DJ Black Charm, G Con, everybody else that came through. Yeah, you can catch me at The Argument League on YouTube, Suave Boss, The Argument League. Subscribe. I'm on Instagram at _argument_league. I'm actually having my first presentation round tomorrow. Bishop Eliyahu was involved, Yashar's involved, Aboriginal, Yorah's involved. So there's some brothers that you're familiar with. They're bringing out, it's like a fact-based league, where, we're coming with information to sharpen the people. I don't know if it's gonna go down now that we've lost Eliyahu's mother, but it might be a whole week before he even be able to do that. So I'll talk to the guys and see if we're postponing it or should we go through with it in respect to him. Also, shout out to my sponsor. Go to www.dothenotherradio.com. Check him out. He's on blogtalkradio.com/do-the-knowledge-radio. He has plenty of events. He got one coming up on with Dr. Claude Anderson and stuff like that. I just want to say absolutely shout out to Sister Reese King and respecting him and respecting her as being a queen to him. I gotta pay that respect. Other than that, man, I love y'all. Please take care of each other. Keep y'all head up. Stay strong, man. It's going down. That's what's up. Hopefully I'll be back. I want to.
Man, you know you'll be back. Stop it. All right. Brother Yashar, you still there with us? Dad of the year?
Most definitely. Shalom, loved ones. Well, this is interesting, bro. Just listening in, you know what I'm saying? You get a chance to really understand where family coming from. Like, it's not always about chiming in, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of times where I want to chime in and jump in there, but it's just good to listen, man, because now, I got a better understanding of my sister that I never met before. Better understanding of where Mo coming from. You know what I'm saying? Towards certain topics. Feel me? Where my brother Abo coming from. You see what I'm saying? So, listening and being patient is a major virtue that we lost and we need to get back. Because just that alone, allow us to deal with each other in a more loving and a more understanding way, regardless of if we don't see things alike. And we're not. I don't walk every day with you guys. Not like that. When I wake up, I'm by myself. When I brush my teeth and I get up out of here and go to work, I'm by myself until I jump on the line and I chime in with my brothers. So in that time that I'm by myself and I'm doing what I do, the Most High is dealing with me. You know what I'm saying? The thoughts that that's going through my brain and that he's dealing with it's not going through y'all brain. So what y'all dealing with is not going through minds. And it don't take nothing away from neither one of us. It just shows the difference in the walk and how he's dealing with us at that same time in different spaces and places. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I don't have a channel for nobody to follow me, and I don't really look to establish one because I'm not looking for followers, family. I'm just all about getting this truth out, you know, according to the words that I understand when I read and open up these books that I feel like is inspired. So, you know, you can catch me at the Argument League, though. Most definitely. You're definitely catch me there. You already see me with the sweatshirt. I'm always gonna represent that. So yeah. Much love to my brother Sal, my brother Anonymous Hebrew, even though he said not. I mean, getting at him and he didn't want his personal life.
I know, bro.
It's been about a whole month, and I'm still waiting on the brother to get me back.
I know.
No, it's all,
bro. I know, bro. It's all my fault, bro.
No, it's good, bro.
Charge it to my head and not my heart, please, bro.
Nah, brother, it's love. It's all love. So with that being said, man, one love to the whole family. To the whole family. You see what I'm saying? No matter whether you recognize you Israel or not. I love that.
Right too, big bro.
All right, I'm back. Had to handle the kids real quick. Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom to the family. Thank you all my brothers and sisters for coming through. I'm not gonna say names because I don't want to forget no one. But thank y'all very much. We're gonna try to do this more often. I know these conversations seem like, man, why are we talking about this or why? But we have to start having these conversations in order to properly grow, in order to properly start getting points across. Sometimes it gets contentious. Sometimes it seems like it's not getting nowhere. But at the end of the day, what happens is those of us that are influential, those of us that are interacting with people, we're hearing the other person's perspective. And in hearing that, you understand, you get more comfortable with how to interact with each other, right? And that's what we have to do. We have to get better with interacting with each other in order for us to move forward, all right? So to anyone that was upset about the stream or anything like that, hey, hit us up, let us know. Everybody that loved it, same thing. Reach out to us. I am the Anonymous Hebrew. This is Debate Talk for You. I'm the host of The Verdict. You can come check us out every other Tuesday. Right now, I'm kind of behind the scenes putting a lot of stuff together, so I won't be back on until probably March 26th. But in the meantime, you can listen to Brother B.A. Ben Abraham. He's every other Wednesday on the Man Up. And then also Sister Ashanti. She's on every other Wednesday on the second quarter. Both of those start 8 p.m. Eastern time. So with that being said, once again, we love y'all. Peace and love, peace and blessings. Shabbat shalom to the family. And anything else you need, get at us. You pray for us, we'll pray for you. All praise to the Most High. Peace, man.
Peace, everybody.